God, you are great, and you are worthy to be praised. We will praise you all our days. We are your students. Teach us your ways, word by word, page by page. In the Hebrew we say, Elohim, אתה גדול ואתה ראוי לשבחים. אנו נשבח אותך כל ימינו. אנחנו התלמידים שלך, ללמד אותנו את האמת שלך, מילה אחר מילה, דף אחר דף.
It's Talk One's Talk. Talmudim. I just wanna get the knowledge. Wonder how they got it. I see a different message in the pages and decided to get the understanding that the Father had prescribed them. I'm thinking that is very concrete. Show us we will listen. Show us and we listen. Yeah, we will listen. Perspectives that they took can't change. Context is a must. Any artist can paint, can taint your vision, trust. Moving the picture around like an auction, getting bucks off your offering, cause you rush from a lost sense in your customs and your ways to the most high is appalling, yeah, that's us. And here's the reason, the cause of it's the gist. Who exactly we pleasing, the Father or the rest? His set apart, Talmudim wrote his word perfectly, but we often want to change according to our own belief. All we gotta do is read, dig a little deep, learn a little Ivrit. Royal Shabbat Abba, Eloheinu Aga. All praises to the Father for bringing our knowledge further indeed. I can't start from the beginning and read and make sure it's not preconceived, the man.
Welcome to His Talk One's Talk, where our mission is and has been from the beginning to contextually read the scriptures from the understanding from the people that wrote it, letting go of preconceived notions and any doctrine that hasn't been consistent or doesn't line up. This show is without bias, with the goal to grow together as a family. The call-in number is 516-595-8238, and we are open to any questions or comments. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, Yisrael, shalom, family, and welcome to another. Shalom, everyone. I have Yadir Yah on the phone. Of course, we have RS2, the panelist, and we have a guest today by the name of, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to brutalize it, but Alatz Ben Ysra.
Yeah, right. Correct.
There we go. So today, everyone, today is a segment, a rest show. I know a lot of you are familiar with it, but those that are not, it's where we take a little break from going through the scriptures contextually, and we'll resume it next week in 2 Kings. But today's topic is kind of piggybacking off of the topic that Reactivating was passionate on, Yadir Yah was passionate on, and that's kind of trying to figure out a way to get back into a community basis within Israel, or within like how the scriptures were put in place for us to operate in. So the name of the show is, or name of this episode is, Are There Options of Redemption, or Are We Just Cursed? Okay, and when I say are we just cursed, it's not from a standpoint of like the curses, even though it does relate to it. It's more so cursed in the sense of not being able to control our own selves, govern our own selves the way that the Most High prescribed us to do so. So before we begin, I would like to, that is me opening up, I would like for Yediyah to have his opening statement, of course. Then Reactivating to have his opening statement, and then Alatz, we would allow you to have, not allow, lack of a better word, but have an opening statement as well, and then we can get started on the topic. And I will go in that order. When we start the topic, maybe we could go in that order as far as what we feel this topic brings in our minds, and then we could go with, allowing Alatz to inform us of any information that might benefit us. So without further ado, Yediyah, the floor is yours.
All right, shalom, lechem. This brother Yediyah. I just want to say thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank our special guests for dropping through and bringing some knowledge. I'm very excited to see what the brother has to bring to the table and see if it's something that I can apply to my life. And that's pretty much it, man. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Shalom.
Shalom, it's Reactivating. Just ready to get the show started. Y'all know me. Same old same. So, yeah, like I said, I'm like, I agree with Yediyah. We take so much time sometimes. We take so much time on the shows like this that, I kind of want to get it cracking so we can spend more time with some solutions. Shalom.
Peace and love, brothers and sisters. I am Alatz Ben Ysra. I want to say peace and love to the whole nation of Yisrael, and I definitely want to give all praises due to the Most High Yah for putting me on this journey of knowledge since knee-high on up, and I'm glad to be able to be some type of example or some type of instrument for my people. So with that being said, I'm ready to get the ball rolling.
All right, appreciate that, fellas. I just realized I didn't introduce myself. It's Shema Ben Yael Talmido. So for those that didn't know, it's tuning in for the first time or anything like that, just wanted to let you know my name as well. Okay, so I gave you a little opening statement as far as how I feel about, well, no, I didn't. I'm just going to, so the title is, Are There Options of Redemption, or Are We Just Cursed? What I want to put out there for people is like, we see a lot of people struggling within the system. Sometimes we see some mistreatment going on, and I will want to know, those that are listening, is it because of it just being the way it is? That's just how it is, us as a people being treated that way? Or could it possibly also be due to lack of understanding the system? Is the system truly and fully against us? Or is it ways to get around this system? What do I mean by that? Last thing I'm going to say before Yediyah come in. It was a post. Somebody put a post up on Facebook the other day, and it was actually about saying that the people of the Most High, or they was referring to so-called black people when they said this, are trying to. She was saying something about nationalizing in a sense, and she was saying, but it's like we have no trust in the Most High. We want to be known to the people that's controlling us. So I got on and I started expressing to her. I was like, well, I don't look at it as us having faith. I said, is it possible that this curse that we continue to speak on, which I agree with it a little bit in a sense, but is it possible that the Most High allows this to take place due to our laziness? What do I mean by that? We are not lazy when it's forced upon us. You know what I mean? When you think of captivity, when it's forced on us, we build nations. We built the U.S. corporation in a sense. When we was in captivity, we was forced to do it, so we built it. But when it's unforced, when things is in place, are we utilizing information that's out there for us to get ourselves out of these situations? That's one of the things I want to put out there, and that's what I brought to her. And I was expressing how it is, and I hope I'm not taking away from the guest. If I'm not sure if he's going to bring this up, but it's something called divine law and common law. And these things are over the laws of the land in a sense. You know, so it's things that they have to still go by, or they're under, but they're not going to put it out there for us to know. So is it possible that we are where we're at for lack of knowledge? And that's what I wanted to say before I let you express what he feel about the topic as well. Floor is yours.
All right, brother. Really today, you know, if I feel like it's a point that I want to jump in and kind of express my thoughts on it, like far as a specific topic, but the overall topic, I'm more so here today just to listen and to receive. You know, I have a lot of panel time on the show, and, you know, I just want the brother to present what it is that, you know, he has for us, that the Most High has blessed him with the wisdom to share, and then from there I can go based off what he's saying and kind of ask my questions. That's kind of my mindset for today. But as far as the overall topic, you know, if I have to speak on it, I feel that if it's something out there that we should know, that the Most High has blessed any individual with the knowledge and the wisdom to share, I believe it needs to be shared. And then also I believe that we need to take heed to whatever it is moving towards the direction of a vision. Now, y'all know my take on it. I just believe that we don't have a vision. There's no place that we're trying to get to. I believe that we're complacent and we're content on where we are. And far as to speak on the comment that you said, as far as the forced labor of building something, we was forced to fulfill somebody else's vision, which was to establish the American dream on the backs of other people's labor, and to possess somebody else's land. Now, how that came about, that vision came about for those people, I don't know. But what I do know is that we got sucked into that vision, and now we stuck in that vision. So is that where we want to be as a whole, or do we want to have something for ourselves? And that's the question that I would render out there for all the people listening. And that's all I got. Shalom.
All right. Let me. Do I have the floor, brothers? I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude.
Orek, did you have anything before he came on, or did you want him to just go ahead and take the floor?
I'll just kind of reiterate, not, take too much time, just reiterate what Yediyah is saying. This is something that if anybody has been following me on Facebook or whatever, I've been putting out a little couple videos, and anybody knows it's like this is a continuation of, this is like basically the third show of continuation, so it is something that we've been discussing, so there's no need to beat a dead horse on my end, so it is good to just, hear other perspectives and options and stuff like that. This is one of the things that we've been talking about, and we haven't been getting too much support, let me keep it like that, from our people, so, like I said, we've been putting this out. We've been trying to get people to be a part of this. So at this point, to hear anybody else is a great thing, because we've been toiling over options between us 3, 4, 5 that come on to the show and want to speak or say things. We've been toiling over options between us. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I will chime in, and if I have something to say, of course, y'all know I'm never one to hold my tongue. But the floor is yours, brother.
All right. Peace and love, everybody. Let me introduce myself and let everybody know where I started at. I am Alatz Ben Ysra. Ever since about, I want to say 4 or 5 years old, my mother has always had me in the books. I was in books reading 30, 40 books a month by the time I was 6 or 7. And, from there, those books went from, Beatrix Potter's book to the scriptures. You know what I mean? And I just always was studying the scriptures all the time. And it really wasn't from a dogmatic point of view or a religious point of view. It was just, I just felt like there was something in there that had to do with us from, a little guy on up. So by the time I get 17 years old in high school, and, during this time I'm doing music, I'm rapping and everything. So I write this song called The 12. Now, in this song I'm writing, and this is nothing no one has ever told me. By this time I'm 17, no one had ever told me that we were the house of Israel. So I wrote this song called The 12, and the song is talking about how we as so-called black people come from the 12 tribes of Israel. And I'm saying my conflict in the song is, well, I don't know which tribe I come from. You know what I mean? So 4 or 5 years later, I'm 21, 22. And then, I'm looking on the internet for this information. Then I start seeing brothers from Chicago and brothers from New York and brothers from New Jersey talking about how we're Israelites. So that was my confirmation to me from the Most High. So once I got that confirmation, I really just got to studying, history, getting in the scriptures more. At the time, by the time I got out on the highways and the byways, like the camps start to say, and I'm out there and I'm reading the scriptures, but at the same time, I'm studying law, constitutional law, and things of this nature. So a lot of the stuff back in 2008 and 2009, when you were seeing Israelites getting arrested, for reading the scriptures on the corner and getting run off the corner, we were those few Israelites that were actually making the police leave. When they would come, they would have to leave. We would, instead of having a placard board of, so-called white man going into slavery, we had a placard board with the state constitution on there. You know what I mean? So every time they would come and we just ignore them and say, read the Constitution. We have it highlighted. We're peacefully gathered, exercising the freedom of speech and religion. They read that Constitution, have to kick rocks and keep it moving. So that's pretty much where it started. Now, as far as the Moorish part, I was on YouTube, and you know how YouTube pulls up those related videos. So I come across a brother named Taj Tariq Bey. And Taj Tariq Bey is going into law, not religion or dogma or anything that will cause a division between us, no matter what our different doctrines may be. He's going into law. So as I'm studying what he's saying and doing research and stuff, I go back and I'm listening to these different so-called elders of these Hebrew camps, whether it's the great millstones or whatever the case. And I'm starting to realize that either they aren't as studied as they say they are, or they're purposely keeping some information from us. And it made me angry. So I pulled back from the whole standing on the corner. Even though it was very powerful, I pulled back from it because I felt like it was a game being played with us while we were all sitting down watching YouTube, and these people got information that they've been keeping away from us, which was the law part.
All right.
So to answer your question, there is a redemption for us as Israelites. And we always have to look at it from a law perspective, is because our forefathers signed a covenant with the Most High. Now, when you go to a law dictionary, a covenant is a contract. In the Most High, if you go to Deuteronomy 28, he gave us the terms and conditions of that contract. We chose the latter, which was to go into default, violate the contract, and that's where we get the bad end of Deuteronomy 28:15 through 65. So this all deals with law. It all ties, because all law is under the discretion of the system that the Most High has set up in the universe. That's why the Constitution says nature's law and nature's God, because it realizes that nature's law is an order that was set up by a more intelligent, divine, intellectual being. It's right there in the Constitution. So our law as Israelites is the Bible. And every judge on the face of the earth puts his hand on that thing and takes an oath to it and says, "So help me God." So basically, he is locking himself into our contract. They all have. They've all locked themselves into our contract. So, yes, the thing is, though, we just need to stop being a debtor, pull ourselves out of default of that contract, and we have to start honoring it. And one thing by that is we have to proclaim our nationality as Israelites. We can't go around and say, well, I'm an Israelite, but when we're dealing with the rest of the human family, whether they're Germans or whatever the case, we reach into our pocket and we pull out a card that was issued to us by one of Caesar's corporation, and it says Willie Jones on it. that's not the mark of an Israelite. That's the mark of European Christian colonial property. And you're not honoring your foremothers and forefathers, which now our days are getting shorter and shorter on the land, wherever we may be, because they're killing our babies, because our babies are being what? Born with Roman names attached to them under Roman principles that delude to slavery. And unfortunately, what I've noticed with our movement as Israelites is it's become more dogmatic and religious instead of us representing ourselves as a nation of people. Like, for instance, the Jews, the Jewish people. That's a religious denomination, but somehow they've convinced the world that they're a nation of people. So they're doing something right that we're not doing. I got to at least give them that, because people are confused. Well, I don't know if Jewish is a nationality or is it a religion. It's always an argument. You see what I mean? So in order for us to get our redemption, that's the one thing. Declare ye in Judah. You know what I mean? That's the protection of the what? The royal tribe. You see what I'm saying? It's telling you right there. Declare ye in Judah. What did it say in Deuteronomy? The scepter shall never pass from Judah. So in essence, we have been lazy. We have given up our authority because it's been there and we just ain't been using it. In the law, the scepter is symbolic to power, sovereignty. So if the scepter shall never pass from Judah, what have we been doing for the last 700-800 years? Being asleep. It is as simple as that. We've been asleep. I always tell a lot of brothers, when you go to Galatians chapter 4, it tells you, for instance, let's say you have a trust account, right? And though you're a child, you have to have a custodian or a trustee that's over that birthright, that inheritance of yours, until you come into proper fruition. That's what Galatians 4 is talking about. We have all these custodians that are over us. They are in control over our birthright, over the trust that the Most High has established with our forefathers, and we keep ignoring it, so they're treating us like children even though we're adults. Read Galatians 4 and see what it talks about how I can't remember the word exactly, but it's saying how the beneficiary, that's the term I'm using, has a birthright, but he can't get it until he's conscious of that and he's on his proper status at law. And it tells you there's also two contracts in the universe right now that stands, which is the contract of the bondwoman or the covenant of the bondwoman and the covenant of the free woman, which that's the free woman is Sarah. See, we were supposed to be born free, so in actuality, we are the ones who sold ourselves into slavery just by simply agreeing to that divine covenant contract and then breaking it several times over. Because you got to think, in our history, we've been put into captivity, and then once we started going by the contracts, the rules of the contract, the Most High lifted that up off of us, and we were right back out of captivity again. You got to think of how many times has the nation of Israel been in captivity in and out?
That's right.
A lot of time. You see what I mean? And the thing is, we just need to honor that contract, and we're not doing it all the way. It's like, okay, well, we're Israelites. Yeah. But when you look at how the Israelite lifestyle is practiced, it almost looks like it's Christianity, just with some Hebrew words thrown around. Not realizing that what we consider religion and dogma is our law. That's why it's called the Mosaic Law. Laws, statutes, commandments. You hear them same terms out in the secular world right now. They got laws. They got statutes. You see what I mean? And if you look at it, who's living the Hebrew lifestyle right now and doesn't have any problem with anybody? They don't have any social security numbers. They're not being taxed. The IRS is not up their hind end. Who is that? The Amish.
That's right.
And they use the Torah to protect them from Caesar's law. So why not us? It's as simple as that. We have all the law we need. We have a law book. We ain't got to sit down and rewrite no new constitutions, because everything that is in the Torah is our law. It even tells you, for instance, we don't even pay attention to it. What's the law about if you injure a man, right? So you injure a man, that means you have to pay him for the labor he missed and then a fifth part more. Don't it say that?
Compensation.
Yeah, and that's interest. You see, you got to pay him 20% on top of what he lost. So we are what you call a juridic or a juristic people. We had law. We had court. Solomon had a judgment seat, didn't he? So that's what we're missing. We're missing the operation of our government, which is theocratic, which means it's a government where the Most High is the head. And that's what we're missing. And we have the same thing. We can interchange commerce with different nations. We can have our own currency. We can have all that. There's nothing that's stopping us from doing that at all. There's no law that says that we can't do that. Who just created the Bitcoin? If you can't create your own money, how did the Bitcoin come out? That's a form of act as a nation, and that's where we got it. And if brothers and sisters that are Israelites, especially those of us that are very well-versed in the scripture, if we realized that was law, we would be already running the world, because the thing is, the whole world was given to us. What did he tell Abraham? North, south, east, west. As far as your eyes can see, that's you. That's the earth. That's the whole earth, because you can see one end of the earth from the other side of the earth on the horizon. That's the whole. We were given the whole earth. And I'll tell a lot of brothers and sisters, we should be so happy that nobody has realized that the world is in disorder because of us, in reality. Because if the nation of Israel does what they're supposed to do, then the whole world is going to be in order, because we're supposed to be what? A light unto the Gentiles. And a source of light in Hebrew is what? A more. Mayim Aleph Wa Resh. It's right there in the Hebrew. Hebrews, Israelites are more. We're supposed to be more because it's an action, and it's also a spiritual attribute that was a commandment that was placed on us. A light unto the Gentiles. When you get into any Hebrew lexicon worth its salt, a source of light is a more. Mayim Aleph Wa Resh.
I got a question for you real quick. Hopefully I did not interrupt in the presentation, but I know you have you brought up to the listeners as far as how we are able to have like our own currency in a sense. I think that's what you said, and it's funny you said that, because through my studies I actually saw that in the indigenous United Nations Indigenous People Rights. They actually said we can, but we don't know these things. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw that in there. Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. You're right, because the thing is, we partially are set up to an extent. You know, we got our religious institutions set up. But right now, the nation of Israel also needs social institutions, political institutions, economic institutions, and then we can tie that all in together with our faith so that it's protected up under that. That's why you have the First Amendment. For instance, like right now, and this is so crazy. I heard this from a European on YouTube, and it made a lot of sense. Okay, so he goes to the bank account go to the bank to open up an account, and he says, well, you know, of course he's a Christian. He can't be an Israelite, but he says, well, I'm a Christian and I follow the Torah, you know, and God tells me that we're not supposed to have respect of persons. He's like, according to law, a person is a corporation. He's like, furthermore, according to law, a corporation is a dead entity. He said, so for me to operate with you as if I'm a corporation is necromancy. He said, and that's a very grave sin according to the Torah. That's true. That means we don't have to go to these places and issue them Roman numbers called Social Security numbers, because that's the mark of the beast that they say that you can't buy, sell, or trade with. Think about it. You see what I'm saying? The way that the Torah is set up, that's all our protection right there. All we gotta do is look at what Moses did. Didn't Moses take a census? Moses was probably
that just hit my mind, brother. I was like, you know, he numbered the people, but he ain't give them no number. You know what I'm saying? Like that they had to.
Didn't Moses have a court
system?
Didn't Moses have a judicial system? Remember when Jethro came and said, why are you sitting down with these people all day and making yourself weary like this? And Moses was like, well, they come to me for what they issues for their judgments from the Most High. You know, and Jethro was like, well, he's like, why don't you just do this? He's like, why don't you get you some able-bodied men who are followers of the Most High, set them up under you to take care of the people's issues, and if they can't resolve the issues, that's when the people come to you. That's the lower court and the Supreme Court system.
Right. I was just about to say the Supreme Court. That's how the Supreme Court is set up. So we see a mirror effect of what the nation
That's because they got it from us.
Right.
That's because they're using your stuff on you. Everything. The UCC code they call, when you go study it, a good European that won't hide your stuff from you will say, well, yeah, the UCC code is called the Hebrew code. You didn't know that? Because that's our banking, that's our commerce system. We were always merchants. You see what I mean? So we're actually cutting ourselves off on a whole bunch of stuff is what it is. That's exactly what we're doing because all our power and authority is right there in the Torah. And all we do is have to claim it, put it on public record, let these people know what it is. And they know this already. They know this. Even in masonry, for instance, I tell people, when you start getting these higher degrees in masonry, at least from I see, they start taking on Hebrew titles. The Holy Kadosh and the Elu of the 12 and all this stuff. They are practicing your stuff, period. They know who the Israelites are. They know that. They know. They know that. They most definitely do. And they know that we had dominions over here in ancient times too, in the Americas.
That's something I was hoping that you would probably bring out as well.
Yeah.
If I don't know if you have that in there. But,
Yeah, I'm just going off the top. So, whenever y'all want to ask a question. But, the Israelites were here in the Americas. Like, for instance, in Ohio, where I'm from, there's a place called Newark, Ohio. They found burial mounds over there. And in the burial mounds, they found a casket that had the Ten Commandments written around the casket. And it was an image, even though, we're not supposed to be dealing with the idolatry stuff, but it was an image of Moses on the casket with the Ten Commandments. This is found in Ohio.
Right.
And you got in New Mexico, they got one of the oldest Hebrew scripts that was around. You got the Ten Commandments written there in New Mexico on stone. So these aren't Canaanite people. These aren't Moabite people that are writing down these Ten Commandments. These are Israelites.
Right. And this was before the Columbus coming.
Before Columbus.
The whole Columbus.
That's well known.
Yeah, definitely.
That's well known.
Mm-hmm.
That's very much well known.
So
they know that.
This is part of the scatter. This is part of the scatter period, right? We were already over here. A lot of us was already over here before the whole transatlantic, right?
Before that, we were already over here. Before that, we were already in the Americas. But as well, you remember, King Solomon had voyages that was going over to the Americas with the Canaanites, because he had that treaty with the Canaanites. They were doing business. They were a seafaring people. So he used them to travel back and forth from the Americas. It's well known. They know that. It's well known. There's a brother that wrote a book called When Rocks Cry Out. Horace Butler, I think the brother's name is. And it specifically shows you how we had kingdoms and civilization established over here as well. Period. Now, break down the word America to me in Hebrew. What is it? What that say?
Educate us on that, brother.
Well, what is Amar Ameri means to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Now, in certain lexicons, and my computer got crashed, but there was an old lexicon that I had that showed that the word Ameri in Hebrew means my promise. You add that ka on there, you have what? My promise to you. Because if you look at it, if you look at it, none of the European travelers of the world that started doing exploring, they didn't shoot over to Israel in the Middle East. Nobody went there. Everybody wanted to come where? To the Americas. And what did Christopher Columbus say? In the movie 1492, they tell you Christopher Columbus, the priest pulled Christopher Columbus. He's like, well, why do you want to go over there? He's like, there's nothing over there. He's like, well, Ezra. He said in the book of Esdras, it says that there's something. He's like, well, Esdras is a Jew. He's like, and so what? So was Jesus. He even tells you himself that he knew about the Americas because of the Israelite prophet Ezra.
Wow.
Go watch that movie.
I
1492.
know in the Apocrypha, what they call the Lost Book, it speaks on that, and a little bit, and it kind of connects bridge. So a lot of the information that connects the bridges, they have excluded from common knowledge, and they have presented to the people that these books are like fabrication or they're not of the Most High, but they records. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that ties into what you're talking about, which I would like for you to kind of clarify for the people with the religious dogma. I think that ties into that what you're saying. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But if you would, please clarify a little bit what you mean when you say religious dogma. I think that's what you said.
Well, right. By that, what I say is a lot of stuff that's practical that can be used for us, we religify it or dogmatize it. Like, for instance, you got the dietary law, right? We ain't supposed to touch pork. A lot of people think, well, if I'm eating pork, that's a sin, I'm going to hell. The reason why that was established was for health purposes. That's why you have a dietary plan or a dietary law or a guide anyway. It was for health purposes. It's an unclean animal. It's been proven today, no matter how many degrees you cook it under, you're not going to get rid of the worms. You see what I mean? That's for practical reasons. So sometimes we dogmify a lot of stuff that doesn't have to be, and it just is what it is, and it cuts us off from where we need to be moving. Like, for instance, a lot of people think proclaiming your nationality is an affront to the Most High, when it's not.
Right.
Jacob had to declare his nationality. Didn't Jacob correct his status? Didn't Jacob have an earring in his ear for a while? And the earring is symbolic to what? To being in servitude, is it not? Ain't it? And when he had to correct his status, he had to get rid of those earrings, bury him underground, corrected his status, and he got his L. He went from being Jacob, the heel catcher, or the one who grabs the heel, or whatever the case, to Yisrael. He is a noble of power.
Wow.
He corrected his
I didn't look at it like that.
Yeah,
and you know, when we went through contextually, you know, we was wondering what the earrings, why they was, you know, getting rid of the earrings, you know, and that's good, man. That's good that you brought that out, because that was one of the things we was looking at. We noticed it, but we didn't know the significance of it. So you brought the wisdom to it. You know what I'm saying? So we acknowledged it. We had a knowledge of them getting rid of it, but now we had a wisdom with it to understand why they did what they did. So all praises
now, before we go
Most High.
further, before y'all go further, and all praises to the Most High, like you said, because that was something. Man, I like how you brought that out. Now, going into that, would you say was the earring significant to the captivity? Because what would you say about like Israel wearing it as a whole? Like afterwards, they was wearing it, or he adorned them with it. Is that a separate type of earring they was wearing? Was the earring
the hoop
wearing
earring
a captivity earring? Okay.
Yeah,
was
it a captivity earring.
Okay.
It was a hoop.
Gotcha.
So even though we still wore it, because you will see us, even when we got in power in certain places in Europe and you got those kings and queens, you see them wearing that. I really don't know why they would have that hoop earring in there unless they was subjugated to another sovereign. That's the only thing I could think of. But yes, in our culture, that is a symbol that's a symbol of being in servitude to somebody else.
Wow, I never knew that.
Now, so to be clear, it's specifically the hoop earring.
Yeah, it's the hoop earring.
So like a diamond stud or something like that doesn't represent.
I know some of us are very orthodox, so I know some people don't really subscribe to poking yourself with anything or whatever the case. But it depends on. Yeah, it's jewelry. It's a form of jewelry. We wore jewelry all the time. Israelites wore jewelry, so yeah.
Yeah, because you got the signet, the rings, and all that stuff like that.
Right.
So,
exactly.
So, I just wanted to make sure it was clear to everybody, far as the specific earring that you were speaking of. So I didn't want them to go out, be confused, and like just say, put out some false doctrine. Like if you got earrings, period, you a slave. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I want to do.
No, not saying that at all. Trust me, back then, even those people that had the earrings on them, that marked them as property, they also had paperwork on them. So just because you moved that earring, that don't remove that paperwork that somebody got on you anyway. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And that's another thing. We did everything by law, everything was done on paper, the sale of a property, things of that nature. All of that was put on paper. We contracted all the time when you look at that. So we have to be well aware, even as Israelites, of how we handle our business affairs at home, because we dealt with buying property and lots of land to bury our family and things of this nature. And we're not really comprehensive of that right now. Maybe a few of us because we did a little bit of realty or we got some realty, but we're not really, really deep into that, and we need to be. Because if you go in the scriptures, our people was cognizant of contracting and all of that stuff. They were cognizant of that. And then what did we do? Instead of using a notary, what did we do? We used 2 or 3 witnesses. And if you look at law today, the equivalent of 2 to 3 witnesses are the equivalent of 1 notary. Where do you think they get that from?
I don't know, the divine law.
The divine law, exactly. But see, a lot of ancient writings, I don't want to say some because, I know some people might come and try to beat me up, but there's some people out of certain schools of thought, a lot of that information that in their school of thought, a lot of it seems to point back to some teachings that we had. I don't want to say we originated these teachings. I don't want to say that because you can see a lot of similarities in a lot of cultures around those times. And I always tell people the only reason why you can see similarities is because you had a man who was a prophet by the name of Noah who had 3 sons, and any man worth his salt is going to depart some knowledge to his sons. So therefore you should expect there to be some similarities in the culture. So I don't even know why people was running around talking about Israelites is copying this and this. No, that can't be the case. We all family, and our father was a prophet, which was Noah. And like I said, any man worth his salt is going to break some knowledge off to his sons, period. As simple as that. So I want to make sure that gets cleared up too. We got to be more open-minded about that for everybody that says that Israelites or the Bible was some type of plagiarism or something like that. I don't know why that's crazy, but yeah.
Well, I want to jump in real quick. I want to jump in because you said something just now, and to the other panel, man, I know I love Odek and I love you there. Yeah, we like to listen a lot, so we soaking in the things you're saying, but it's certain things you're saying I wanna jump in at. So everybody that's listening in. I just want you to know our guests, and correct me if I'm wrong, you identify yourself as a Hebrew or Israelite more. Now,
correct.
When I came into, now I've been in the truth for maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years or something like that. So I went through I saw all the stuff dealing with Kemetic. My cousin, which is like he's the age of my mom, so I was about to say uncle, but he's actually a Moor. So I had all this understanding and knowledge dealing with them, the Kemetics, the Israelites, the Moors, things of that nature. But when I started studying the Constitution, like I would say, like we should touch on that too, the human rights, the indigenous people rights, and how it connected to how the importance of nationalizing itself. I came across this brother's video, and I should have probably explained it in the beginning of the show, but I didn't. I started doing a little research, and I came across him and 2 other brothers, and the other brothers are Moor. Now, I didn't connect the dots of history. When I found out what the Moors identified themselves as, I was like, wait a minute, we technically all connected in a sense. It goes all the way back to Abraham. It goes back to Noah. So I'm like, so I had a little, and I think y'all can vouch what I'm saying, because at first I was like, if I nationalized myself on the card, I would probably have to put, Hebrew Moor, Israelite Moor, and I'm like, I don't want to say Moor. But then when I found this brother, who our guest, identifying and breaking stuff down and bringing this stuff out, I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of saying this for the listeners to hear and understand that all this is a connection, and I like this brother because we have a lot of people at each other's throats, even in Christianity, in Hebrew Israelite community. Even the Kemet's go against each other. Even the Moors go against each other. But we don't have a lot of brothers like this one, and I thought he was really good for the show because it reminds me of me, Reactivating, and Yadir Yah, how we really try to encourage everyone to we might have differences in beliefs and stuff like we did, and we came together.
Right.
You know, somebody asked for Reactivating, I think it was, or he asked us last show concerning this conversation. What would you do if somebody had a different belief than you? Would you bring them in the community? You know, what if you have Messianic and non-Messianic, which we know is no such thing, because if you have any belief in anybody in the Tanakh, that makes you Messianic, because Messianic is Mashiach or anointed one. So we have anointed ones in the Old Testament as well. So anyway, my point is this. That is what that's what brought me to him, because he opened the understanding more in how, first of all, it's all related, that's one, and two, that sense of trying to build. That sense of trying to build. And I just wanted to put that out there. So maybe, you know, as you continue, you can touch more on the more Israelite nationalizing yourself type ordeal. Perhaps some of the, I mean, you know, any way you want to go with it. And if any other brothers have any other questions that they might want to touch on,
let me know if you got questions. That'll build the nexus for our topic as we go on. So yeah, definitely ask the questions. Most definitely. As far as the Israelite nationality, which that's something I want to make it clear I can help everybody with, but we need to do that because there's certain things in place for us. For instance, I always tell people Israelites have ancestors. They come from a nation of people before there was a nation of Israel, and that leads back to the first man and woman on the face of the earth. By that default, that makes us aboriginal, that makes us indigenous to the earth, regardless how many generations we're removed. You can see it in our features. We are the children of the original man and woman. With that being said, there's certain things that we are allowed to align with our Torah lifestyle that is not in conflict with it, that would make our lives much, much easier. Because, and me, myself, I really got 1 foot in and 1 foot out because we're in so many webs with the way this Roman system is set up. What it does is it still causes us to be in conflict with the Most High. And that's one thing I have to say. Right about now, as far as we think we got away from idol worshiping and all of this stuff, it's not the case. We are still there, brothers and sisters. I just want to make that clear. We are still there. And by the way that we carry ourselves in certain things, because it makes life much easier, it locks us in. And I was just telling the brother earlier, like, for instance, we're not supposed to give respect to persons. And what I mean by that is that's right there in the scripture. And a person, according to law, is a corporation. It's also a dead entity. So we're going around telling these people we're corporations and we're communicating as such, not knowing that we're dealing in necromancy, which is one of the most, the most deadliest sins there is in the Torah. I know it's not the 7 deadly, but it's very much frowned upon. Very much so. Right there in the book of Samuel, you even see it's very much frowned upon. And we've been doing necromancy all our lives.
So what do you mean when you're telling them? I'm glad you identify a corporation with persons, because remember some people that listen, some of our listeners aren't aware of certain terms that you're saying, and I think they really need to know. How can Lavelle Craig? Say that's my name. They send me mail. How am I a corporation? So can you explain that to them, and then that kind of will lead to why nationalizing is important. I appreciate you for that.
Okay. Basically, what happened was when we were born, they tricked our innocent mothers, right? They signed up for a birth certificate, which is which certifies you as property. And they found it on the county record in an all-caps name as a corporation. Anything that has an all-caps name as a corporation is a dead entity, which is why when you go into the grave, they even have your name in all caps on the headstone. You ever notice that? So when you go and look up corporation at law, brothers and sisters, because you can look this up, and there's some law dictionaries you can download off the Android market if you have an Android phone, and I'm sure on the Apple phone as well. But if you look it up, a corporation is what's considered a person. And under the United States Constitution, a corporation falls up under the 14th Amendment, which is the same amendment that so-called black people fall up under. So basically, we are under that status of black people. We're walking around as a corpse. We're walking around as the walking dead, literally. You see what I mean? So that's what I mean by saying we a corporation. So when mail is coming to you in the mail and it's all caps, they're talking about the corporation, Mike Jones. You see what I mean? And they're having us take responsibility for that corporation, saying we are the corporation when we're not. And again, like I say, a corporation is a dead entity. So you're saying, okay, I'm a corporation, I'm this dead entity. Well, how am I able to communicate? Because nothing dead can send out a piece of mail. You see what I mean? So you're putting it out, even if you're not saying it to them, to the universe, to the Most High. You are saying, I just declared to these people that I'm dead, because we know that the words become flesh. I just told these people that I'm dead, and I'm still acting as a live person. That's necromancy. If you're telling somebody you dead, you still in sin, because dead spirits aren't supposed to talk to the living. That's the rule. Living aren't supposed to talk to dead spirits. That's the rule. That's the balance. So even by you telling them that you're a dead being and communicating, you're taking part in necromancy, which is speaking with the dead, or you're the dead speaking. Corporation, corpse, dead oration, speaking.
Wow. I love it.
Man, hey, this live parsing of words right here. Brother,
I love it. Live parsing.
Now, but speaking of parsing of words, I just wanted to kind of elaborate a little bit of what the brother was saying as far as breaking it down in the Hebrew, what a mor is. So if anybody knows, or, you'll see that in the Torah, in Bereshit, where he said, let there be light. The word light there, you'll see is or. And so when you have that prefix of the mem, we know it's a preposition from or of. So it's from light or of light is what it's saying. So more.
Now check this out, though. And that's what we were, because Adam and Eve, when they first were put on this plane, they didn't have flesh. When you look at it in the Hebrew, that's why I love the Hebrew language, because it's a scientist's language. It is a language of science. When you read it, and when I read it, I got that when Adam and Eve were clothed, they were clothed with flesh because their vibration of light slowed down. Everything that we can put our hands on is a slowed down vibration. And when I read it in the Hebrew, to me, the language was telling me that they were clothed with flesh first, which means we were beings of light first. Because Adam and Eve, before they were called Adam and Eve, was called Ish and Isha. And if you go into the word Ish, you know that the yod in there is an infix. But if you take that infix out, you have fire, light. So that lets you know off jump when we first were made, we were made from the element of fire or light. That was us.
Still getting the lesson to the family out there. We still getting the lesson even in this. Still getting the Hebrew lesson. I love it.
Yes, indeed. The key is in the language, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, study your Hebrew. You might not be super duper fluent with it. I'm not super duper fluent with it, but I've studied it enough to where I see certain things and I can pick it out, especially the root words. And that's why I love etymology, because sometimes there'll be a word and I might not know what it means in Hebrew, but when I find a root word, I'm there. I'm in the neck of the woods. And the next thing you know, I go look it up. It's like, okay, well, I was correct. So study your language, because the Hebrew is in everything. It's even in the English. So definitely study your language. I've heard so many people that's been considered master teachers, and I don't want to throw no names out there because some of these people I have learned from, but there's certain things that they said, and when I hear, I'm like, in translation, I'm like, that's incorrect. That's not right. It's important for you to know. Let me tell you something. I remember one time I went into this store that was ran by some Ishmaelite brothers. And, I wanted to get a pack of water. So the pack of water is 24 in the pack. I asked them how much for the pack. They talk to each other in Arabic. They say $20. Now, the word was very close to modern Hebrew. I think it's a ishrim. I think you say ishrim, something like that, which means tens. So I said, y'all crazy. I'm not paying $20 for no 24 pack of water. And they looked at me. They was like, you understood what we said? I said, well, I study Hebrew. I said, it's pretty much the same language. So little things like that will cause you to hear things. You might hear somebody talking crazy about you. You never even know. So study the language, because you'll find Hebrew in a lot of stuff. I mean, even in some of the European languages. You got the word Tsar. That's supposed to be a prince or a king. But when you go to Hebrew, Shar is a prince. It's a noble, a king.
Yeah. If I could speak on that a little bit, I think it's very important that you're saying this, because the original languages started in the same region, and as you read the book, you'll see that they were able to communicate with each other. And so exactly. A lot of, when he talks about the etymology, like etymology just goes back to the foundation of certain words and where they derive from. And so if you go back to the earliest languages, you'll see that, even though these people branched off, like they had to start somewhere where the language, where they was able to still communicate with each other. As time went by, certain words begin to change a little bit. But if you trace it back, you can still kind of see that they all derive from the same place. So that's just my little elaboration on what the brother is saying.
You're correct. Abraham didn't have any issues when he was navigating them lands. No translation issues whatsoever. A lot of people don't pay attention to that. No translation issues. He went from Egypt to Canaan, you know what I mean, different parts of Cush, never had no issues. So that speaks volumes. We have to pay attention to that, and that's why I say it's not good for us to have that camp mentality to where, oh, well, you're a Hamite, and we was beefing 2,500 years ago, and you going into slavery up under us according to Prophet Jeremiah. Nah, and some of that might be true. I'm not knocking on that, but even still, we got to deal with people on a love basis. A brother can't come up to me asking questions, and I say, well, you a Hamite, this ain't for you. He still got questions. He's still a child of the Most High. He's still our family, because what? His forefather was who? Ham. So why are we tripping when we know right now in life we deal with third and fourth cousins and we have no issues? They got different dads, different moms, and we deal with them like, so it's the same thing with these different nations that come out of Noah. These are our people. Now, they might not be a part of our contract that we have with the Most High, because it even tells you in the scripture, each nation has its own, divine birthright. So, no, they're not attached to our birthright. No, they're not. Mm-hmm. Brothers and sisters on a human basis. These are our brothers and sisters. They are family. You know what I mean? So we have to have respect for these people, and that's another thing that really moved me from the movement of Hebrew Israelitism, not identifying myself as that, because you can never take a tiger stripes. You'll never change my blood. I am who I am. But the whole movement, the way that it was put out there, was a lot of hate with other people that looked like us, whether they was Hamites or Moabites or whatever the case. And that's not how our forefathers dealt with. We went to war with who will war with us, but on a regular basis, we dealt with people. It's as simple as that. We still got to do
right. And I want to tell you, this is why another reason I brought this. This is why another reason I brought this brother on. Come on, get your stuff. I brought this brother on because of this mindset. It's the same mindset that us on this show have. We recognize this through the contextual study, and I could tell that he's been doing contextual study, seeing how they operated. This is what he did. Y'all always say reality over religion, So this is I like the stuff that he's bringing out, man. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Indeed, it is about unity, and we ain't going to get this stuff on our own. If Solomon worked with the Canaanites, we can work with the Canaanites. You know what I mean? And then what I tell a lot of brothers, too, specifically the ones that have that camp mentality. It was like, okay, well, brother, if you say you from the tribe of Judah, then you need to know that your foremother that laid down with Judah to even start the tribe was Bathsheba, which was a Canaanite. So you can't keep condemning a people when you got their blood running right through your veins. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. We have Hamite blood running through our veins. Who did Joseph lay down with to have his seed? Manasseh and Ephraim. It wasn't Shemitic people. You know what I mean? So it's a unity time, right? All the brothers and sisters out there that got a little bit of biasness towards, it's unity time. That's what it is. I always tell people you can go to China. China, they practice Islam. You got Chinese Jews. You got Chinese Muslims, Chinese Christians, Chinese Buddhists, Hinduists, Taoists. But one thing they all got in common is that they are Chinese nationals, and they do what's good for China.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Hey, man, like Brother Shaman said, man, like the presentation right now, it meshes with, I believe all of us feel the same way. But I just like to speak for myself, you know what I'm saying, and let the other brothers speak for them. And,
Indeed.
But this is exactly like if anybody listens to the show, I know Brother Dean, he jokes a lot with me, and he say I'm very political in my stances, when like questions come about and the way I just handle the scripture. But I just believe that I try to say what I need to say in a way that comes across the way I feel it needs to come across, because sometimes we can say things that's discouraging, but it's just because the way people perceive what's being said. And so I try to have a political stance because I don't want to, I'm not saying that, like for instance, one of the big things is when I talk about Torah, and saying, what a law is, because Torah can mean also, instructions or teachings. And so when I say it like that, I mean because it's not set up to, when we've connected to a nation, there's punishment to it and stuff like that, as far as a judicial system that's set up. But if you're keeping Torah, like you were saying, dietary law, we say law, but it's not a law. It's nothing you could be punished by eating pork right now, but it is a instruction or a teaching that I believe is very useful to keep because it connects to your health, And so when I say things like that, it can sometimes confuse people. I understand that, but I have to take the stance and say it that way because that is what it is. You know what I mean? And like he said, when you throw that dogmatic religious type stuff in there, then it kind of alters the original, how would I say, the etymology, as the brother was saying, of the word. You know what I'm saying? They throw that law in there, and if you look at like any modern translation of it, law is not even attached to the word. It like the brother said was kind of interesting that I saw Torah translates as science as well. In the modern.
I have seen that.
So it's just like knowing the language, knowing the, it's very important to know, like when stuff is said, they translate it as law, but it's really deeper than that.
Yes, it's much deeper than that, and this is one thing I do want to leave out because just like I got to give it to the brother Noble Drali, what he brought for us, this is divine and national, and by that, what that's saying is when you look at those Mosaic laws or you go back to Torah, we have you always deal with that saying on earth as in heaven, and that's also saying we have a earthly salvation to deal with, and we have a divine salvation to deal with for when we leave here. So that's why we have those laws, because there's things to make us have a softer journey while on this plane of flesh. That's why the Most High established them laws for us. I'm telling you, life would be easier if we just did what was already set up and established on what we agreed upon. And as far as, especially when it comes to the nationalization part, due to the fact that we already have a contract that predates the slavery, us taking on these European family names, all we have to do is declare, look, this is our contract right here. And according to the First Amendment, y'all can't rule over this anyway, and you also can't go against the right to contract according to Article 1 of the Constitution. You know what I mean? We have to learn how to tie that Torah into these so-called secular laws, because a lot of the times the secular laws are mirrored, but you have to be able to find them and lock it up with the Torah. So, for instance, let me give you an example. Let me see. Give me 1 second here.
While he's looking, everyone, I hope that the listeners out there are, taking a little bit of notes, because at the same time we're still getting edified here through the scriptures and even through the Hebrew, which we're big on language, and get prepared as he continues to bring more on the law aspect, because I know we still have a little time left. And also, let us know if you have to leave anytime soon. The show normally lasts to about 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, but we will appreciate your time. So we'll go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, here we go. Here we go right here. I'm trying to find it. Give me a second here. I'm trying to search this word. For some reason, I done updated this software. They done put in these new Bibles that I just cannot stand dealing with, but I'm going to see if they'll find it for me. Man, I cannot believe that.
Is there anything we can help look up?
I'm looking for one of the scriptures on usury. Here it is. Creditor. No, they still didn't find it. This one ain't set up the way that I wanted. But for instance, like usury, we're not supposed to. I wanted to find the exact scripture, but I go verbatim. For instance, usury. We're not supposed to be dealing with usury. We're not supposed to be taking part in it. Usury, when you look it up in the law dictionary, is things dealing with interest. The Most High doesn't want us dealing with things with interest.
Right.
You see what I mean? Except when it comes to injuring somebody or you're being injured. That's when interest applies, not on contracts. It should never apply on contracts. So right now, the fact that we may be Israelites of the nation of Israel, we have a mortgage. That mortgage has usury on it.
That's unrighteous debt.
It's an unrighteous debt. And who brought that to me and made me realize it, because you can learn from everybody. That's why I'm not biased at all. It actually was a Caucasian gentleman from Canada. And I'm like, you know what? That is so correct. I'm like, I cannot think of this gentleman's name, Minister something, but he's the one that brought that out to me. I'm like, that is so correct. He's like, yeah, that's how you do away with a lot of these debts and things of this nature, or at least the interest, because debt is not a sin. It's not a sin to be in debt. We can borrow and things of that nature, but the usury part is the sin.
Right, adding that interest rate on there, just by giving you, you know what I mean, the loan or whatever like that. Like
right.
Most High in Torah, that was not prescribed.
Right. And what does the bank tell you, though?
I definitely know that.
What does the bank say? They don't discriminate according to religion, nation of origin, such and such, all that, right?
Right.
So you can go back to that bank and say, well, you know what? I did not realize this, and my faith has been this, or I can you say I just converted today. But I do know one thing, that it is a sin for me to be in agreement and hold hands with you in an agreement that has usury attached to it. So you don't know what usury is? Like, that's interest. Because loans are made off of good faith. You can give collateral. You know what I mean? That's why we can't even interest each other. Well, Israelites can loan to each other, but you'd be damned if you put interest on an Israelite, brother.
Right. Yeah,
you see what I mean?
Definitely. And I know, or that Dean know that, because that means lawyer, you know, and he like to deal with the law. So that's one of the things when we look at this beast system, that's one of the attributes of the beast system is that interest. That is not of the Most High at all.
Exactly.
Okay, would you say the nationalizing part takes away from that? Like, is that including? Now, forgive me for my ignorance. Is that including, or are you mentioning that as far as like taxation is concerned, in alignment with nationalizing, or?
I was mentioning that in concert with the nationalization, because in all reality, I'll even say this: people who are branded as so-called black right now on the record, they can't even apply the Torah to them, because the Torah was a contract for a national people anyway. You see what I mean? That's why we have to nationalize and even be able to claim back this birthright, because you have what is it called? The Old Testament, you got the New Testament, and testaments deal with what? Wills. So our ancestors knew exactly what they were establishing when they established this whole Torah thing anyway. These was for our birthright and earthly salvation on this plane, and while we're here, following that allows us to focus on our spiritual salvation, because it's divine and national. National deals with this plane. Divine deals with the spirit. So the spiritual part, that's still very much a part of the movement, but in order to make this Torah fully apply to us in law, we have to proclaim and declare our nationality as Israelites, so that we're in the proper person to make claim to these inheritance that's been left behind.
So let me ask you this, brother, because I see like where you're going with it, and I just want you to kind of go a little deeper into it. So I heard you talked about the Old Testament, New Testament, Brit, that cut, so you're talking about that will. So
right.
So when you going into that and you talking about the two separate ones, you got an old one, you got a new one. So a lot of times there's confusion on that. So when you say old, that means it's done away. And then when you say new, this is the newness of what we got. So can you just kind of clear that up, because that's kind of the common understanding of old and new. So can you just break it down so people can kind of get a better grasp on it?
You know what? I guess, we probably would have to look at the word new I guess we'd have to look at it from a Hebrew perspective. What is it? New is almost the same word as holy in Hebrew, right?
Well, new, Kadash. Kadash.
Yeah.
Right. They almost similar.
Kadash. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to look at it. It's just the beginning of a new moon, should we say? Because Christ, or Yeshua HaMashiach, like he said, he didn't bring nothing new. He said he didn't come to remove the law of the prophets and none of that. So he didn't bring nothing new. It's just he was a reminder. So when you forget something and you forget about these contracts that you got and you just going on with life, because you under the captivity of all these other people, so you just going on with life and not really living out them contracts, sometimes you have to send a reminder, and that's what he was. So it's just a renewal of something that's old. Because he never said, I came to remove none of this stuff. Who was he quoting? He was quoting the old prophet. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. None of that stuff is the law is the law. Our birthright is our birthright. We just had to be reminded. Had to have that memory renewed. Don't you got to renew a license, and then you get a license from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and it's the same information on there again, but it's renewed?
Wow. Yeah. That's a good analogy right there. Like somebody needs to post that.
Right. And Moses said
we
it
got,
too.
We got a couple. Real quick, we got some new people that came in. I just want to encourage you all to listen back from the beginning. Some good points that came out. I see Brother Mercy is in the queue, so I'm going to allow him to come in. But if you can, just make sure you come check out the beginning, because it is some things that were said that I believe could definitely benefit just from an understanding standpoint, and we're still climbing to what the brother is going to continue to present. So, Brother Mercy, you are live.
Yeah, hey, brothers. I just had a quick question. I was wondering about the what do you think about the I know you said something about your brother's not supposed to charge ushering to each other, and under that nationalization. But what are the is this a legal process, or is this primarily in theory? That's my question.
No, it is a legal process. When you actually look into a law dictionary, you can find proclaim and declare there. And a good example is the Declaration of Independence, right? And what did they do? They declared from what? From the iron hand that was over them.
Okay, but what I'm saying is it wasn't just a document. There was also a war over it. People just didn't say, oh, yeah, we're going to agree with what you're saying. There was, and I think that what's missing is you can't enforce something without a war, I don't think, because they fought a war. Now, you talking about they fought a war over that now. It wasn't just the British just said, oh, yeah, you got it, you right. That's not how it worked. You know
right. They did fight a war, but see, they were still under the jurisdiction of them people is the whole thing. And see, our jurisdiction under them is colorable. You talking about Europeans trying to break off from other Europeans. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's their contract. Our contract predates that. That's a contract that they had. That's not our contract. And see, by law, if a contract is incorrect, then you can rescind it. And every contract that we've ever signed as Jones, Johnson, Williams, and Smith is incorrect. And fortunately, even though we see a lot of uncivilization in some of these other people in the form of human beings, there are remedies put out there. Like I said, I know brothers right now that have proclaimed and declared their nationality. They ride around right now with their own plates on their automobile, unmolested, not being messed with whatsoever.
Yeah, I heard that. They get. I heard that. I heard that when they have that, the plates that you're speaking of, the cops will pull up to them, and they ring it up, and then they grab, pull off away from them.
Right. For instance, I took my nationality card. I went to Walmart. I went to Best Buy. I established a non-taxation account using my nationality card. It says that I'm a Israelite on there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of power in it. It's just the only reason. This is the first step, and this is what I always tell people, because I know sometimes we make it seem like it's the whole piece, and it's not. Declaring and proclaiming your nationality is the first step. That's the first thing we're behind, because right now everybody else, they're declared. You got China, you got Japan, you got the Nigerian, you know what I mean? You got the Ethiopian. They have their nations established. We were the people that were separated from that, so we got to put that contract back out there in the universe with the Most High and say, look, we knocking the dust off this contract. We about to put this out here in the universe, make word flesh. We're Israel. Now we want to claim our birthrights back. And there's certain actions and things that you can take to get certain things in place. But see, that's up to us. And that's the thing. The whole world is watching and waiting for us to do what we need to do, because the imbalance in the world is due to the fact that we have some divine contract breakers right now called Israelites, because the whole world was supposed to be under their dominion, ran under righteousness, being lights unto the Gentiles. That's the whole thing. We dealt with nationality. We even had a naturalization process, like when we wanted to marry what in the scriptures calls a strange woman. In order for her to become into the house of the nation of Israel, she had to go through a naturalization process. And in law, that's a process where you make someone a part of the nation who was originally a stranger. Sometimes we did something that some people might not consider doing to their woman, but we would make them shave their hair bald, didn't we?
Yeah.
In order to be able to be brought into the nation of Israel. That was a naturalization process. So they know about us. You know, there's no question. You even have Israelites right now that are sitting up there or that have been in talks with the United Nations. There's other brothers out there that are Israelites that are putting in work for Israel. You know what I mean? That's what we're missing out, that government portion. Yeah, we can get an army established and all that later on down the line, but the first thing we need to do is proclaim and declare our nationalities, because we've made the word flesh and we've told the whole world that we're these dead people. We're the black people. And due to that, the word has become in flesh much and much more, and babies are dying at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old at the hands of Roman centurions. We are almost back to where it's the Egyptian times, and they was killing real babies of ours. I was just telling people this on a YouTube video years ago. I said, y'all watch, keep playing. They're going to start killing our babies at younger and younger age. Next thing you know, there's 12 and 13-year-olds being shot. No smack on the hand whatsoever.
I want to say something. I want to read something. Brother Mercy, press 1 again if you wanted to come back on. Once you got done talking, I took you off. I heard background noise. I wasn't sure if it was you or I guess speaker, but I want to read something real quick, and then I want to ask you. Somebody asked me a question. They sent me a message, and they wanted me to ask you. But before I read that message, I wanted to go to this is the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, and I want to read a few articles, 3 or 4 articles. And then I want to ask the question to him, but before I ask the question, he can respond on the articles that I'm reading. It says, I'm going to read Article 4 and Article 6 first. Article 4 says, indigenous peoples, in exercising their right to self-determination, have the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and evidence for financing their autonomy's functions. Now, I do understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, some people have a problem with, well, you know, do we have a government in place? You know, I get that. So I won't go into that unless the brother has something to add towards that. Article 6 says, every indigenous individual has the right to a nationality. And I know in the Constitution, I believe, or the Human Rights Declaration, if that goes for anybody, not just indigenous. But we're speaking on our people right now, so that's Article 6. Recalling the universal, and I put notes on this. And I said, recalling the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948 proclaimed the right of every person to a nationality. They got to go by these things, you all. The listeners out there, you have to understand that they have to go by the Constitution. They got to go by the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, and they have to go by the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of indigenous people, but we don't know these things. Let me keep reading.
They bound by that contract.
Exactly.
Right. They bound, exactly.
That's why
Let me continue reading.
Israel was bound to the Most High.
Exactly.
That's right. Because they went into the contract, and I'm glad you just said that.
They're called covenants, though. In the United Nations, they're called covenants.
Mm-hmm. And I'm about to read that right now, too. Yep.
Hey, before you go, though,
also,
we just read where your boy made a covenant. We've been reading like that. Covenants wasn't just between Israel and the Most High. That was something we've been bringing out and we've been seeing. So we see that these, like he said, some of these covenants predates even the covenant that David made with Jonathan. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those things, they bound themselves.
Right. Especially when they go into office by putting their hand on the Bible and they end it with a prayer that says, so help me God, when they take their oath. They're locked in from page 1 of the Bible to the very last page. Even your job, for instance, aren't Hebrews supposed to be paid at the end of the day after doing service?
They should be.
It's right there.
Yeah,
it's right there. You're not supposed to be working a job and they not pay you at the end of your shift. That's another thing that you could say. That's a violation of my religion. Because it is. We in so much sin. Yeah, we ain't even supposed to have nobody else over us that are not our brothers. That includes the job. Because what's the word for employer in law? Master. So we go to work every day and we working for somebody that's not even out of our nation.
And then,
Well,
this could go so many ways. But I'm going to let Shaman say what he was going to say for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Quiet. Wait a minute. Ramon, you hear me? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can hear
sir.
All right. I just want to make sure. All right. So here's one thing that I have to be a Yeti eye at this moment, in this very instance right here, and ask a Yeti eye question that he'll know exactly what I'm saying when I say this. So these certain laws in the Torah, wouldn't they be even harder to enforce in our captivity? What I mean by that is, we can play the game all we want to, right? All right, we can kind of run the system and this, that, and the other. But to really, truly run the system, would you have to be a little bit more sufficient as far as dealing with your own people and having this thing set up before you say, oh, you know what, boss man, I need this, or if for some people they don't have a job, because some people will be trying to go get a job or whatever. They say, well, you know what, this is my religion, this is what I believe, this is my belief system, whatever you want us to have, they want to word it, and this is what I need from you guys. All right, let me just say this. 9 times out of 10, we already know what it's about to be. It's a right-to-work country. All right, I said a lot of people are in right-to-work states. That means they don't have to hire you, and they don't have to have a specific reason why they don't hire you. They say we don't like you, period. And I've lived in a couple states that is like that. And every state isn't like that, but the majority of them are. I can't name off which states are not like that. But I was in Nevada, and Nevada is one of them states where you could just be, honestly, you could be a black man with locks in your head, and that would negate you from getting a job. They don't have to tell you why, but even if they did, it didn't really matter because they have that right. So wouldn't you put yourself in more of a position with some people that have families to just step out and say, hey, look, yeah, I'm Israelite, I don't have to deal with you people, and woo-woo, without having yourself set up in a position where you really don't need them. Because we can enforce all these laws and say that's a good one. As far as we could, I think it's safe. But like Yada would say, some of these laws that we are breaking, and I agree. You know, hey, look, we find out more laws that we break. You know, I wouldn't say every day. I'll say every year. There's something new. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. And what you try to start enforcing that. But even with some of the positions that we're in as far as captivity, it kind of hinders us. Yeti Yah's in the military. It's only so much he can really do because he's under contract. All right? I was under the same contract. And you get that article, and they'll start taking his money and keeping him in there. They'll take his rank, they'll take his money, and then now you have a situation where he has a family. And I don't know if, now I don't know this is personally, I don't know, if he can sit there and say, well, you know, my nationality trumps my contract that I have with you guys. Now, me personally, I don't think he can, but I don't know all, you know what I'm saying, there's certain laws that would have to negate that, or if it even can be negated. So in a certain situation with Yeti Yah being in the military, he has to kind of take it. Like, well, I got to kind of take this. You know what I'm saying? And do what he can.
I was actually going to bring that out in what I was bringing. I was about to bring that out and kind of to your question before he answered. If y'all allow me to, I was actually about to bring that out.
Oh, go ahead. You know, I'll put myself back on mute.
Yeah, I wanted to bring. So I'm gonna hold off reading the rest, and I just wanted to give an example. In all your getting, we all know this. So don't let go of the scripture either. I'm not saying you do. I know you're not doing that or that. I'm just putting out there for the listeners. Don't let the scriptures go. We gotta have discernment.
Right.
We got to understand. We have to study. One of the things this brother says, and I only could use him as an example, and somebody that works with me. A guy that works with me, we're about to actually nationalize ourselves soon. But here's what I wanted to bring out to you. It's forms. Once you study and learn this stuff, it's forms you present to your job. I use him as an example, and I'm about to do it myself. He does not get any taxes taken from federal, state, Social Security, what's the other one? Anything, all that stuff that go on your checks, he don't get it out. Why? Because they got forms for that they did not show us. By us signing this stuff, we willingly did it. A contract is a contract. You don't have to get in the contract. You have the right, and you have the right to get into it and not get into it. But we automatically sign it because we think that's a part of being in the job. Now, I posted something on Facebook the other day. Yesterday, I believe it was. And somebody asked me questions like, man, so we don't have to do this? Because in the form, it shows that it's up to you to sign it.
Voluntary,
go back on my post. Y'all will see it. It's voluntary. Thank you. I posted about yesterday, probably 3 posts ago or something like that. It's voluntary. Now, ask me, on his checks, they don't take nothing out. He didn't get fired. In that affidavit that he sent, it lets them know that I signed that through ignorance, lack of a better word, due to the fact that I probably wouldn't have got this job if I didn't. But now that I've learned this and that, just read it. I put it out there. And once you sign it, they put in the paperwork, and it's done. So don't just jump into this stuff. Like you said, nationalizing is the first step. Now, the question when you did, that's a good question. I'll let him jump on it. But what I wanted to say is a lot of these things we have to, just like we do with the scriptures, we got to study it. And when we find out that a lot of these things we don't really have to go by. This is not to say attack. Hey, no, I can't. I don't have to do this. I know you're not saying that at all. I'm just putting this for the listeners. I don't have. You still got to operate in the spirit. Talk to them like a human being, which they are. Don't argue. Don't yell. Don't get all. Hey, present this. Hey, this was the document that I researched and studied. I found out through my beliefs, through my nationality, through this. What's your take? Not even what's your take. You got to be firm about it because this is law. You present the law, and then they take it. Boom. Sometimes you got to fight some of this stuff. And at the end of the day, if you are studied, you more than likely will overthrow what they're trying to present to you because their system cannot overdo a constitution, cannot overdo the things that we're presenting. But we got to study. I'm going to shut up, and I know I'm going to let him present it, and then Mercy's in the queue too. But when y'all done, let me finish reading the indigenous thing.
Right. The brother asked a great question, and that's why I was saying it's off the approach. We don't want to go to them being combative, because sometimes the part of the issue is, one, we're mad because they've been keeping this from us, and then two, we done got puffed up on knowledge because we got this information, and then so we go in there with the sword and the slingshot and both hands swinging, and we done come in as a combatant and not sitting them down. So when it comes to those processes, and we're far behind, trust me, because I know we done came out of captivity and all this nature. So there's reasons why they have us thinking that way. But everything is contract. It's as simple as that. And the most supreme contract that the Constitution talks about is religion. And every one of them says they end their oath off with "So help me God." Even in the Army. When I went to MEPS for the Air Force and I had to go and they gave me my little, what's the name, and I took the oath, I had to end my oath off with "So help me God." I was ignorant, not knowing that we as Israelites, because I didn't know I was an Israel. I did, but I didn't, because I'm, 18, 19. I didn't know that we wasn't supposed to end that off with "So help me God." We supposed to say "I affirm." And see, had I told the Army that.
That's what I say. That's what I say, and they give you the option. But at first I didn't know that, you know what I'm saying? But as I progressed in my career and started learning things, I was like, you know what I'm saying, they give you the option. When they write up your contract for re-enlistment, they say, what do you want stated right here? I affirm or "So help me God. And I always select affirm. But go ahead.
Right, because that's been turned into an affidavit. That's why. You see what I mean? Total different. That's how Israelites are supposed to operate, by affidavit. We make affirmations. So that's the thing, contract law. If a contract is not right or you no longer agree to it, depending on certain things, you're able to rescind it. And like the brother said, there's remedy. As above, so below. There's two sides to everything. So just as well as we contracted ourselves into certain things, we can contract ourselves out. Now, for instance, the treatments that we get and we receive as far as so-called black people, how they shoot us and they kill us in the middle of the street and there's really no repercussions to them. That's because we've contracted into the Christian black codes to where we can be treated as property, and there's not any repercussions for chastising a slave, even if it ends up killing him. These are written in the Christian black codes. And what we need to understand is that as long as we run around and call ourselves Negro, black, colored, African American, we're not a people. We're not attached to the protection of the Most High because we're not attached to the original parties of the contract, of the covenant. So we can know all the scripture and all the stuff that we make, but we have to. I'm sorry?
Can you slow down real quick? Something hit me. So can you add this to what you're saying? When you go to Deuteronomy, I know we got brothers out here that, parse a lot. And one of the big things that came out of a parsing of Devarim or Deuteronomy was that it doesn't say you will be sold into slavery. It say you will sell yourselves.
It did, exactly.
Yeah.
You sell yourself.
And then it comes with you will be a byword, a proverb. So these are titles that we accept ourselves as black, African American, so on and so forth. So this is a self-inflicting thing. So add that to what you're saying, brother.
Brother, you are so right. What you just said was in my head 20 minutes ago. I just didn't even want to go into it, but that's the spirit right there. You're right. Goes back to contract. We sold ourselves based off of the terms and conditions of the covenant with the Most High. It's as simple as that. What word did they use? And no man shall redeem you. All we've been doing is we've never been purchased. We've just been passed around. Redeem means to be purchased. We ain't been redeemed. We ain't been pulled back from it. We've been just passed around as property. And when you look at, for instance, African American, black, Negro, colored, when you look at it on the census form that they have at the United States Corporation, it says on there that census form is from the United States Department of Commerce. Now, what are natural persons, flesh and blood beings who come through the womb of a woman being marked down on the commerce unless they're property? It's as simple as that. So we have to tie back into our contract. Marriage is a contract. The covenant with the Most High is a contract. Your covenant with your job is a contract. And that's the thing. So as far as the military thing, like, check this out. I remember I watched a documentary 4 or 5 years ago, and it was about this brother. It wasn't a brother. This is a European, and his family were witches, right? His family were witches. There was something getting ready to come up within their culture, a high holy day or something for them, or I think he wasn't liking the military. Do you know that they used the First Amendment to pull him out of the military? Witches, Wiccans, they enforced the First Amendment and pulled him out of the military using religion because their contract with their divine creator always supersedes the contract with man. It's as simple as that. So we just need to sit these people down and not attack them and say, hey, I've made some mistakes. I've transgressed. I violated some laws of my ancestors, my culture. I'm sinning with my divine creator. I did not know that when I did this, that this is what it meant for me. I didn't know when I did this, this is what it meant for me. I would just like to correct this information. It's as simple as that. You go down there, you have your scriptures together, you take your Torah down there with them, you have your scriptures, because sometimes we have to educate these people. And like the brother said, sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to fight. Like, for instance, I've never, ever, ever done a court-ordered name change because we're not supposed to. Strangers aren't supposed to give us our ancestral titles in the first place. I've never, ever did a court name change. I've dealt with so many different places saying, well, we can't accept this because this is not a court-ordered name change. And due to the fact that I've studied and I can produce state Supreme Court case law, whether it's Ohio or Michigan or United States Supreme Court case law, and I just bang them in the face with it like, bam, here you go. This right here says that it's universally recognized that a man can change his name as long as it's not for fraudulent purposes without legal proceedings. I remember I had to do that when I was in Ohio, and then I showed the lady, I said, see, and this was a decision made in the court right across the street before they closed it down back in 1991. That lady had to shut up and render me my services. As simple as that. Shut her down. Like, yeah, the court right across the street also said the same thing in 91. So we have to have all of our stuff, study and show thyself approved. That's what it says. So we just have to have all of our paperwork and stuff together before we do these people so we can make the ride a little bit easier. Now, once you've expressed that to them and then they happen to say, well, no, Jones, we can't do that. You were Michael Jones when you came here, and you're going to be Michael Jones. We don't care about no Yehuda Yisrael. What is that? Now you have a human rights violation, and then you take action from there. Because you can't say the military is not subject to the Constitution when you have to take an oath to support and uphold the Constitution. You hit them right with that First Amendment all day. As simple as that. But you just come at them respectfully because you do have contracts with them. So instead of causing an issue, you come at them respectfully, and then you see where it goes from there. As simple as that. It is simple as that. And what we have here, what we need to do is establish these so-called religious organizations, because these are supposed to be the organizations that's issuing out the paperwork for brothers and sisters to show that they are really living that life and that they are really enforcing the First Amendment, the right to religion and all of that. And so I say, if we got study groups, you got three brothers, you got a study group, the first thing you need to do is establish a Hebrew organization, Israelite organization, put it on the public record. You know, don't incorporate it because we're not supposed to be creatures of Rome. Don't incorporate it. Put it on the public record, and you can issue out those information. So, okay, well, you can't work on Fridays, sundown, or Saturday, sundown. Okay, well, we need something from your priest. Okay, well, fine. We got Priest Beloya over here. He's about to type up this document, put his seal on it, and we're going to fax that over to you with the letterhead.
Man, we definitely need to get together and talk, man. We need to build straight up, you know what I'm saying? Because with the information you got and just the vision, man, like we definitely need to come up with something. But I wanted to ask, I think it's slipping my mind. Oh, so, okay. So with the whole, you know, the 501k or whatever that the churches have, that's a violation of divine law. Is that right?
Can all the way, because I always take it back to Hamashiach. The brother dealt with our issues, social, economic, and political. The reason why I say economic, because a lot of people don't realize, didn't he get a control over the treasury? Did he take control of the treasury? A lot of people don't realize that. Go back and read and see how Hamashiach took control of the treasury. And he also, with the taking control of the treasury, he spoke to our social and economic issues. When you go into 501c3, which is the tax exemption that they give you, you are not allowed to speak to the social, economic, and political woes of your people. So they'll snatch that from you. And what people need to recognize is the IRS, check this out, they recognize the divine laws of the Most High. So when you establish a religious society or organization, the IRS already recognizes it as mandatorily accepted that it's not taxable. Anyway, period. Religion is not taxable, period. So whenever we establish our organizations or societies, we need to make sure that every brother and sister leaves from there once they've declared and proclaimed their nationality as a missionary. That way they're always doing missionary work, because it is our job 24/7 to be a light unto the Gentiles. That's work. Period. It's as simple as that. We do missionary work, and it's not taxable. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we can do. There's a lot of things that can be established. Like I said, the Amish don't get molested, and they're living some of our culture. I know they got a little bit of the European stuff mixed in, you know, because they're Dutch or something like that. But they're living our culture. They're Jedediahs and Judahs and all this stuff. Got our names and everything. Having Enochs and Noahs and all of this stuff. And they live in your culture unmolested. So it can be done. It most definitely can be done. What is it? What is those people out there in Utah? Mormons. They doing the same thing. Unmolested. In Utah, it seems to be like it was established by them. So they have a Mormon government essentially running out there.
My brother, we got about another brother in the queue. I'm going to bring him in.
All right.
And then, Brother Mercy, you live? Sorry for the delay.
Yeah. I had a question, though, about you brought a good point about the Mormons.
Right.
I thought that was a good example of that. But also, what I'm wondering, though, by you saying you enter into with these employers that you don't have to pay taxes. Now, the tax status is different, but what I'm trying to understand is to say you pay no taxes at all, because I know you don't pay taxes off the offering of the church. Yeah, that's true. But you're working for an employer. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to understand the connect there because they're not a tax-exempt organization. You follow what I'm saying?
Well, because you're telling the employer, because what people don't realize is when you go work for any corporation, right?
Okay.
When you are becoming an employee of them, you are now telling them that you are a federal employee of the United States of America Federal Corporation. Therefore, when you are a subsidiary corporation of an original corporation, there may be some corporation taxes. Just like if I start up a McDonald's, I franchise a McDonald's, I have to pay them a tax. And corporations are taxable to the point to where if they looked upon, for instance, when you sign your documents at work, you're telling them that you have income. Income is taxable because according to law, income is the surplus left over from corporate investment, and that's taxable. So one, when you do this job, you're telling them you're a corporation. You're lying on yourself and saying you have income because you don't. You haven't invested anything. You're trading your time for the wages. So that's why brothers and sisters find themselves locked into those taxes because, again, it's contract law. They contracted and said, hey, I'm a corporation and I'm now a federal employee subject to the regulations of the United States corporation, and all federal employees have to pay taxes. They have to be licensed. They have to be insured. They have to be bonded. Those are rules that apply to corporations, and us are a body of natural persons, flesh and blood beings that urinate, defecate, sneeze. You know what I mean? Corporations
Okay. I got that. Now, I got one question for you. Now, okay. I can see the business side of it. I can see the business side that you're saying now. But as far as Torah is concerned, the Most High made them leave Egypt. He didn't have them establish a nation inside of Egypt.
Well, see, that's the thing.
You understand what I'm saying?
You can't be inside the United States, and this is why I'm telling you, because the United States is a corporation. It's not the land. It's a corporation. They tell you that. Title 28, subsection 3002, it tells you that the United States is a corporation. So what that means is it's just something that exists on paper and does business on the land. State of California is a corporation. It's not California Republic, which is the land. State of Ohio is a corporation that does business on the Ohio Republic, which is the organic land. So, again, it still ties into corporatism. If you look at the Constitution in the United States, it's 10 square miles somewhere in Washington, D.C. You don't even live in the United States.
So United States is not a nation? You say United States is not a nation?
It's a corporation. It tells you that in the United States Code, Title 28, subsection 3002, under definitions, it tells you that the United States is a federal corporation. It can't be a nation because nations deal with flesh and blood beings.
So wait a minute. So hold on. Wait a minute, bro. Wait a minute. Okay, now, so if the United States is not a nation, how can it be a part of the United Nations?
You say, how can it be a part of the United Nations? They're just a party to because this is the thing. They are all operating corporately. They all have to have a corporation that operates on their behalf.
I got that.
The United States is just a party.
Are not nations. That was just saying they're corporations.
Well, no, the United Nations are nations, but what I'm saying is each nation has a corporate, how do I want to say? The real nations have a corporate counterpart that allows them to operate in what we call the corporate world. So the United States, the United States is just an agreement with the United Nations because you have Aboriginal people on the land. So they have to be party because they take part in the world commerce system. Like, for instance, when Putin was pissing everybody off, what did they do? They went to the United Nations and started putting commercial sanctions on him, on his books, putting him in the red. You see what I mean? So they're all parties because it all ties back down to commerce at the end of the day because you have a world commerce system. It's just as simple as that. But the thing is, when you have foreign corporations doing business in Aboriginal lands, they have to be parties to the United Nations treaties because those Aboriginal people's rights come first. That's what that is. So the United States, no, is not a nation, but the United States of America, the Republic, now that's a nation. And that's the nation that we have contract with. See, because you got two entities operating. You have the United States democracy, which is not constitutional, and you have the United States of America, the Republic. The United States of America, the Republic, that is a nation, most definitely, because we established the Peace and Friendship Treaty with them in 1786. That's most definitely a nation. And the United States that I'm speaking of is the United States there was two United States first. You had the United States when we were in power. That was the dark-skinned man, us here in power in the Americas. And they took it from us, and then they created a corporation in 1871 called the United States. But the original continental government of the United States was us. That's why when you go and look into, not the King Alfred plan. It specifically talks about when the King Alfred plan starts to take place, they're going to start taking us out of the power of government. And they said, and this is not the first time this has happened in history. So, yes, the United States is a nation, but it depends on which United States you're talking about. The United States of America, the Republic, is a nation. The United States of America, the corporation, is not whatsoever at all.
So when you say we work with our employers, we're working with the United States as a corporation, is what you're saying.
Right, because you're going in there.
Okay, I got that. Okay.
Yeah. And this is how they do it. Let me give you a key. Before you go, let me get a brother a key real quick. The reason how they get you to do business with them is using that Social Security number, because that's called a servant identification number. So that's how they get you.
Right.
And you have to pay a tax on that European name that you're using at that job. That's franchise. That's why I was talking about the McDonald's thing. I started McDonald's tomorrow around the corner. I got to pay the original McDonald's a franchise for using that name. So you're a tax write-off for the European family whose descendants are still here that owned your ancestors at one point in time. That's why we got to pay those taxes there. And that property was put on the public record as corporate property. You know, as soon as they did, what did they do with the documents when they took ownership of a slave? They used contract law. They used a document, and they filed it at the county recorder. Same thing they do with your birth certificate. They file it with the county. That's why the county deals with the birth stuff, because it's the same county 200 years ago that dealt with the slavery stuff. So they're still practicing that. So that's what that is. We're attached to certain documents that put us under that status to where we have to pay these people taxes, or we think we do. So it's all contract laws at the end of the day. I've even myself had taxes stop being taken out of my check. You know what I mean? Didn't have no issue whatsoever at all. Last job I just had, I didn't have any on that. I'm sorry.
On that real quick. We got 5 minutes. I wanted to let them listeners know that might be listening online. We got 6 minutes left. It might go over because we can go over. The number to call in is 516-595-8238. The number is 516-595-8238. And I kind of want to jump in real quick on what he's saying. This is something you could find this document at your workplace, you all. I got it right here because I'm in the process of doing what he just said. He got taxes, them being able to take it out removed, and the fellow on my job as well who's about to do the nationalization. This notice says to all workers, employees, and employers regarding to the voluntary nature of IRS Form W-4. Okay? Internal Revenue Code, Title 26, Chapter 1, Part 31, Section 3402. Form W-4 is a voluntary withholding agreement between an employer and an employee. There is no law requiring a worker or employee to complete the IRS form. And it goes on. It's a whole bunch of different things. And I'm not going to read all of that, but you actually can find this at your job. They're supposed to present this at our job. They don't do that. They make us do paperwork to get hired. And then so this affidavit that I have, which I wanted to finish reading the indigenous, but I'll do that later if you all would like me. What'd you say?
Oh, yeah.
I just said sneaky devils.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's so this is what so a lot of questions that we're having, and we want to ask this brother, which is cool. We're not gonna get all of it out here. That's why I say he say study a lot. Everybody that knows anything that he knows, and what I've been learning, they say study, study, study. Because it is people that nationalize themselves, right? And they think that that's the last step. They get in front of a cop, and they be like, well, you know what? I don't have to have a driver's license. But then they don't know they don't know the law. So they shoot themselves in the foot, you know. But these things are actually true. But I'm not going to get into that. It's deep. This is a first step, everyone. But I want to read this last part right here. It says, no law requires a private sector worker to file a Form W-4 or its equivalent. In U.S. versus Mobile Oil Company 821 USTC, now these are things you need to know. These little things right here. The court ruled that a company does not even have to send a W-4 form or other employee forms to the Internal Revenue Service unless served with a judicial court order summons to do so. And I'm guessing more so if you're on that part, this is me guessing. He probably could correct me. Dealing with, like, if you're doing some child support-wise or some illegal, or I don't know how to explain that. But
that's
I do know.
They're saying that's a garnishment order is put out. Exactly.
Right. So other than that, you don't have to. And this is, now watch this, you all. This is not even a nationalizing this is without me nationalizing. You can do this without nationalizing, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this form,
I would suggest nationalizing first, but yeah, you could try it, but I always suggest nationalizing first before you do it.
Hey, Shamar.
What would you like to say?
Shamar.
Yeah.
I was going to say that you cannot pay taxes by just doing the status, what do you call it, 99. You can do a 99 where you don't take out certain taxes. I know about that part. I don't know about any taxes, though, man. And then my question to the brother is, you're saying not only do they not withhold taxes, that's one part, because you're talking about how they collect the taxes. So that's what that form is talking about, how they collect it. But now my question to this brother is, not only do they not collect it during your pay period, you're saying you don't owe nothing at the end of the year. Is that what you're saying?
No.
I want to be clear.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You don't owe nothing at the end of the year because that withholding agreement was the agreement for them to withhold in the first place. So let's say, for instance, you got a job, because they can do this now. Let's say, for instance, you got a job and you sign a withholding agreement for them to take money out, right? And then 2 months down the line, you logged into your job account and you went in there and you changed the state and said, no, I don't want y'all to take no state out and I don't want y'all to take no federal out. And you went in here and did that. And then when taxes come around, you're going to owe because you had an agreement with them for them to withhold that money. And then you went into your system, and because when I worked at Home Depot, we were able to log in and change whether we wanted state and all that stuff, withholding or whatnot. So that's what's going to happen, and that's how you're going to end up owing because you're in default of that contract. You said you wanted us to withhold this money for you. We did 9 out of 10, they probably get some type of account in their system expecting that money to be there because there's something they wanted to do with your money throughout the year, build interest or whatever the case may be. And I think that's what it is, because what happens is the job takes your taxes and they actually hold it in a bank account to let it gain interest, and then they send the money over to the IRS after that. So that's the thing. There's another account created somewhere that is in the hole, because they're doing the math based off of how much money you're going to make for the year. So they already create an account with that amount either in the negative or whatever the case. So that I think that's how brothers is getting in the negative and on the IRS is because they're creating an account that has like an expectancy. You know how somebody say, well, yeah, I know I owe you $500. I'm gonna pay you next week. So you spend the $300 you got in your pocket on the new jacket you wanted. Then when it comes for that $500, it ain't there. He changed his mind. Now you ain't got your $500. Now you done spent your $300, and you expected the $500 because you could have used the $300 to pay for what you was gonna use the $500 on. You see what I mean? So I think it kind of creates an account with them that causes an imbalance in the books, and they come for you when you file your taxes to balance the books back out. Because that's all it is. The IRS is an accounting company anyway. When you look at their incorporation documents, it tells you that they're specifically an accounting company. I just had a guy from the IRS tell me this too.
I was going to say that's deep.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's deep. I wanted to, you can ask your question, Brother Merce, but I want to backtrack a little bit off of one of your questions that you asked the brother and the way he answered it. I wanted him to kind of explain that within the Pledge of Allegiance, because I noticed he brought up the Republic. So it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and or, it's and to the Republic for which it stands. So if you could break that down a little bit, because you can kind of see a separation, but then in the end it say indivisible. You know what I'm saying? And then it comes back, like you said, under God. You know what I mean? So if you could kind of break that down a little bit and see the wordplay trickery that they did there.
Oh, yeah. They switched it up. They took the Republic from you, and they switched it out with the corporate overlay of what you call the United States democracy. I have this document, and I suggest brothers and sisters go look it up. It's called, I want to say, Military Training Manual 225. Even if my numbers are off, I'm pretty sure Google will find it for you. I think it's Military TM 225 or Military Training Manual 225, PDF. You should be able to find that on Google. In there, now this is a manual that was put out by the military, and in there it tells you that the United States is not a democracy, and that a democracy is a criminal mob form of government that steals from the people, and that the republic is the form of government that the people are the sovereigns and the representatives answer to the people. If you look at it now, democracy is the opposite. For some reason, we think that the policeman outside is an authority. I never treat him as such. Never, ever. Never, ever. I never treat him as such. He is a public servant. I'm Will Smith. He's Jeffrey. That's all he ever going to be. Simple as that. That's democracy when they got us thinking these people are the authority. Republic is when we are the authority. Simple as that. Because what I need Israelites specifically to understand is that we can be attached to two governments, with our allegiances. Like, for instance, you have in Ireland, people that's from Ireland can come to the United States and have citizenship in the United States and have citizenship in Ireland. So that's what it is. We're tied in with the United States, the Republic in its de jure form, which means lawful form, and then we're tied in with our nation. But see, the thing is, though, when you have something that's called a nation within a nation, they respect each other's boundaries, and you do what you're supposed to do under your own divine fig tree. For instance, the Amish, even though that's not really a nation, they carry themselves as a nation more than I can say we do as Israelites. And when Christmas time and all this little stuff come along, they don't take any part. They do under their own vine and fig tree. Simple as that. They're not molested or anything. So it is possible for us to be a part of the United States Republic and to deal with our own things as the nation of Israel. Because the Constitution is really not in conflict with Torah whatsoever. If you really break it down and start, matching up stuff that's in the Constitution with the Torah, you'll see that it's not in conflict whatsoever at all. Look at the Arab communities where they're allowed to have Sharia law right in the so-called United States. Right around the corner from me in Dearborn, Michigan, they have Sharia law. What's that? That's Islam. That's First Amendment. Sharia is a form of government. That's why in the law system, Muhammad is respected as a lawmaker. You see what I mean? That's the power of what we already have. what's already been established for us, what's already been left behind. We don't have to do too much of recreating a wheel at all. We just need to fix the axle. That's it. And study. I wish I had time to create a study manual and look at Moses as an example and see that he established that government. Like, Jacob came and did what he was supposed to do to get the family going, but Moses was like one of those main puzzle pieces that helped Israel be established as a nation. If it wasn't for Moses doing what he did, then it wouldn't have been so easy for King David or King Solomon to even slide into a monarchy form of government, because you had to have something that was already set up in the first place. Period. So it's there. And it's the thing, we're not supposed to have kings. You know what I'm saying? They argue with us forever. Forever. No, you ain't want to do it. And then Saul even said it like, man, y'all know how I'm going to have to do you. We're not supposed to have a monarchy form of government. We're supposed to have a theocracy. Simple as that.
And the Most High tried to warn them.
Sure did.
Shemuel. Shemuel said it. Shemuel felt bad about that. And there was something else that came out. I'm saying the Most High is our monarchy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So to say,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? So to say, but it's not supposed to be a monarchy. That's what the other nations had set up, and
right.
They desired that for whatever reason, but that's not what the Most High had for us.
Right. Exactly. So as long as we can get back and learn from that motto, and I know one day it's going to be, I just got my hands into too many things, but I know it's going to be a brother one day that's going to make that correlation and create some type of manual between what Moses did, because Moses laid down, he really laid down a good foundation as far as how to establish a government. And that's exactly what we need to have our house of judgment set up. You know what I mean? But with all this campism, that's one of the first things we should be having is a house of judgment set up so that we can deal with our legal issues. Like when brothers and sisters are contracting with each other, unfortunately, there's conflicts in contracts still. And if you see in the scriptures, what do? We went to the congregation, to the people, and let them witness it. We have to have that established again. And when we do that, the Most High is going to flip that switch like blam. That's what I'm talking about. Look at my babies down there doing their thing. We about to make these floodgates open for them. And I'm telling you, I already know. I already know. We're just in violation of these contracts right now. The most important one. That's it.
And well,
go ahead, Shema.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just somebody asked a couple questions, but I was trying to see if you all wanted to go into a question stage. Did you have any extra stuff before the question stage to put out? And if any of the people that's listening in, other than Mercy, because I know Mercy asked some questions. He started off the questions, and if there's any listeners out there that wanted to ask something, then it could be asked, or the panelists. But I also do have someone that asked me a couple questions to ask you. So that's all.
I'm open.
I'm just putting it out there.
I'm open. They can ask whatever.
All right, Brother Mercy, if you would press 1 to get out, and then press 1 if you wanted to get back in. I'm not sure. I see that you're on there, though. The question that was asked to me, hold on, I'm going to it right now. He said, ask him how can we operate in the public and the private side. That's one. Then he said, and one more, can you ask him how long will a process take, he thinks, when we declare our nationality and proclaim our nationality, and where do we proclaim our nationality besides the county? That's what he asked.
Okay.
So the first part was, how can we operate in the public and the private? And then I guess the next one is, how long is the process, and what do you say, proclaim our nationality? Where do we proclaim our nationality besides the county?
Okay, all right. So as far as the first question, to operate in the public and the private, I had that answer for a little bit, and that was to establish entities that we operate through. But coming back across this information that I done come across, see, that causes us to start dealing with necromancy again. So I'm going to have to look at that again myself, because for me, my idea of operating in the public privately was establishing like a foreign trust and having all business be done through the trust. Now, the thing is, though, I know scripturally we dealt with trust, because the way that the Torah and everything is set up is trust. It would make it so crazy. So I'm going to have to look into that a little more. But for most people, they say that the answer is, to set up some type of entity like a family trust and to operate through that is what a lot of people have said. So that's what I've seen was a good thing to do. But like I said, now that I realize that this trust is possibly a dead entity, I want to look into that more, because I don't want to be into no necromancy. You know what I mean? Anything that's going to stop my divine.
Does that have to do anything like an EIN?
Yeah, it's EIN, which I have.
Like an EIN? Okay.
Exactly. Okay. See, it's that number again. And even though it's foreign, I recognize that it's like creating a entity, and a corporation is a dead entity. So I'm a little up in the air about that, so maybe a little bit later on down the line I'll have a more concrete answer on that. Hopefully, that'll do. I'd rather be more fair and balanced than give you a crazy answer. But, yeah, I'm a little up in the air about that right now, considering that those are dead entities. But from my study, it was always to go through a private foreign trust and to operate that way, which was a great idea. But I don't know now. I'm up in the air, so I'm going to have to look into that.
And then the second part, I think he said, I don't think he said, and how long will the process take, he thinks, when we declare our nationality and proclaim our nationality, and where do we proclaim our nationality besides the county?
You know what? The process is about as fast as the speed of thought. I know it's crazy that I say that, and this is the reason why I say, because the very first place where proclamation and declaration comes in at is within oneself. That's the very first place other than the county. If you go into the county and you ain't proclaimed it within yourself first, then you might as well not even go down to the county. That's the very first place where you need to proclaim and declare your nationality is within yourself. Then you shoot down to the county. Those are the most important places. After you put it on the record at the county, depending on how long they take, which should be maybe a week or so to give you a copy of your document, then it's on the record. But in all reality, your nationality is already proclaimed and declared within oneself, which is the most important place. The thing is, you just want to put people on notice with it, and that's where those affidavits and things come at. So in all reality, in the universe where it most counts, as long as you know within yourself, if you've declared it and proclaimed it within yourself, you are already declared and proclaimed in the most important place. But, by law, we still have to put it on the public record, because that's what Hebrews do. They put stuff on public record. You know what I mean? So that's it. The public record is just more or less a courtesy thing. You're just letting them know this is what it is from this point on. But as long as you know within yourself, you're already declared.
Okay, and that's the only question that I have for someone.
Still do the paperwork, though. And like I said, it really depends on how your day is. If you start out early and you get your paperwork signed and with your witnesses signing and all that, it really just depends on how the day. But all it is you just putting it down on a piece of paper and you're affirming. You're having two witnesses sign, because that's what Hebrews do, and you get it filed on the record that way.
Right. Okay.
What was the other part of the question?
That was basically, he said. He said Will County, and not Will. I'm in Will County. I'm talking about my own county. Sorry. He said, I'm going back to it. He said, where do we proclaim our nationality besides the county? So I'm guessing he asking when he go to the county, he does that and it gets it sealed. I mean, when he get it sealed and all that, do we send it somewhere else as well, or is it just the county?
Well, see, now that's the put on notice part, and that's what I was saying. Once you do get it put on the record, because you putting it on the record, I want to make clear, is the proclamation. I just want to make that clear, because you're proclaiming it and putting it on the public record. So that's the proclamation there. After that is just putting people on notice. So what I did in my process was I started at the lower level. I know some people say the 7 locations, but me, I probably do more than that. I sent one, I would put because you're in the city, so you send one to the mayor. You send one to the chief of police if you want, and then you go up to the county. You send it to the county commissioner. You can send it to the judges if you want, or the sheriff is in the county. You can put the sheriff on notice, and then you just work your way up. You got the governor, secretary of state, you know what I mean, and work your way up on who you put on notice. The big people, the people that are the head of these organizations. So if, for instance, if you want to send a complaint to Walmart, when you put it in the envelope, you just don't write Walmart 124 Highway Plain Commerce Avenue and then send it. You write to John Atkins, the president at Walmart. So that way, when you're sending it to these corporations, these organizations, it's actually getting to somebody. So I want to make that clear as well. So you're putting the head people on notice. So you just think about that. Well, who's the head of the city? And over the police, well, you got the mayor, you got the police commissioner. Put them on notice. Like, well, who's the head in the county? You got the county commissioners, you got the sheriff. Like, dang, well, who's the head of the state? And you got the governor, you got the secretary of state or the attorney general, and you move up to federal. You got the Department of Justice. You got that big red guy with the crazy hair that they call the president. You can put him on notice if you want. Right. Put embassies on notice. You know what I mean? Put other international bodies of people on notice. That's very important, too. We got there's a lot of embassies that are here. You got China. The embassy of China is here in the so-called United States. So put those embassies on notice. Send a notice to the United Nations. Just let them know, like, hey, y'all, I'm claiming to clear my net. And they know about us over here anyway. That's the thing. Those people are more than enough, because I've dealt with the United Nations myself before on a homeschooling issue. When they were trying to attack me about not sending my daughter to school, to their schools, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like over here in Chicago, Mayor, I forgot his name. Y'all know his name. He proclaimed, Moors as indigenous people and stuff like that too. But I guess what I want to say for the listeners, the reason that you're mentioning like the sheriff or the police commissioner and stuff like that, there's two things I want to say. That ties into driving or traveling, like
right,
and also doesn't it tie into I just lost my train of thought. Traveling, and doesn't it tie into that first part, but the second part is it's certain ways you got to send out the letter as well, right? But this is the studying stuff we're going to do. This is why.
Right, there's certain stuff you got to do. Right, you just don't want to send them up. For instance, let's say you want to put the police chief on notice that you proclaimed your nationality and you don't want to be treated and mishandled like they would a so-called black person, right? You don't want to just send them the affidavit, because then it's going to like, okay, well, John Yisrael just sent me this affidavit. It says all this stuff that he's a Yisraelite, and that's fine, but I don't know why he sent it. So when you send that stuff, you want to send it with a cover letter, because a lot of times they do know why you're sending it, but it's I always like to say ignorance is bliss when it's beneficial. So they'll play stupid to hinder your movement, even though they know what you're trying to do. So just to get over that hurdle, when you're putting these people on notice, put a cover letter with it so they know why. Give them a method to your madness, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most definitely.
Right, well,
now, as far as that, I will say this too.
Go ahead.
With the driving and the traveling part, that's something you can put into your nationality, that you are, reserving your right to travel with unlicensed and, whatever the case may be. But I always tell people that before you start getting into that stuff, just because you proclaimed and declared your nationality, don't go outside and start doing stuff that you're not really studied on. It's fine to be at the white belt level. It's fine to say, okay, I'm in karate, but I'm a white belt. It's all good. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? So don't do this stuff and put this paperwork on there and then go out and take your sword and start swinging it. And then you come across a real samurai. Just take your time, and just like the scriptures say, study and show thyself approved, and you'll definitely will show yourself approved. Trust me.
All right, any of the panelists have anything to say or questions, or anybody listening in? Press 1 if you had a question or anything to say. Or the panelists. And if not, then
I had something.
Okay.
Trying to remember what it was. It was a little while back, but give me a little time to see if it come back to my mind. If it don't, then
I'm happy to come back on, brothers, because this is the thing. That's my main issue with this whole movement is the fact that it has not been enough Israelites moving in this direction. So whatever I can do to assist and, get the ball rolling for us wherever we may be, I'd be more than happy to come back on.
I mean, that's definitely something I would like. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak for everybody, but that's something I would like. I'm very interested in some of the stuff that you talking about, and I know for a fact, brother, or that's Dean, like, that's his main thing, like, actually putting our hands to the plow and getting this thing going. As far as conversations that me and him have had, I told him I don't think we'll see it in our day, but if we could initiate the movement, that would I can go back to the dirt. You know what I'm saying? With no problem, knowing that even if I don't see it or my immediate son don't see it, his children could see, us reestablished and redeemed. So
exactly, that's what it's about.
We got someone in the queue too, fellas. We got Sister Hakma in the queue. Going to allow her to come in. Wrong choice of words, not allow, but I'm going to bring her in. Here we go. So, Sister Hakma, you're live.
Shalom, sister.
Shalom. I was not able to speak at the moment. It was driving me crazy, but I can talk now. The gentleman that's speaking, I do appreciate you coming on. I have ran into a couple of people about, nationalizing ourselves and that we are the indigenous people. And when I was bringing this to someone, they was brushing me off or whatever. And I'm just like, I knew this was the way to go. So it was just good to hear, someone else bringing this up as far as Shema, as that, I don't know what you were reading, but I don't know the word to call it, but I have a copy of what you're reading, and I've had it for probably a year now.
Oh wow!
But no one seems to was on that. As far as the tax thing, get ourselves taken away, so we don't have to pay these taxes. Me and my father were discussing this probably about a year ago, and it was just like, actually a sister we're inboxing each other, we're talking about it, and she was telling me a lot of people are scared to do it because it's going to bring an awareness to like, they're waking up. And she was like, so a lot of people are scared to go that extra step as far as nationalization. So I'm just, I'm glad to hear, my brothers speak about it because I know more people will listen if it's a man talking about it other than if it was a woman talking about it.
This is a shame. That's a lot of wisdom. Crazy.
It is. It is, and a lot of things that comes up, a lot of things you guys talk about, I have brought up, but it's just crazy Hakma talking, conspiracy theory Hakma talking, but it's not. And so I just want to say, yes, I cannot pronounce your name. If you do repeat it again, I appreciate it, but I would like for you to come back on because you speaking on exactly what I definitely would love to hear. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Elatazah, sis. That's how you pronounce it, Elatazah.
I'm still saying it wrong, but I'm going to keep practicing.
It's all right. We'll get it together.
Spelled I-L. It's spelled. Can you spell it out for us, too?
Yes. It's I as in indigenous, L as in love, A as in apple, T as in Torah, A as in apple, Z as in Zion, A as in apple.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sis.
Correct?
Yes, indeed. You're correct.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, but I'll be glad to come back on, I most definitely would be glad to come back on. Like I said, whatever I can do, that's what I've been looking for Israelite brothers and sisters to, move more towards this nationality thing because that's what we need to reattach ourselves back to that covenant so we can start experiencing Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14.
Those blessings. Hey,
Man.
so it came to my mind what I wanted to talk about. We're going to backtrack a little bit and try to make it brief, I guess. You know, since you agreed to come back, which works perfectly because Brother Shema said part one when he titled this thing. So we definitely want to have some additional parts. You know,
I was in hopes that we'd
do
that. I was in hopes.
You don't put part one unless you
existence.
expect it for a part two or at least a part two. So
right.
we definitely will get with you and see what we could arrange. It's kind of, I wouldn't call it ironic, man. I believe the Most High set it up this way because originally we had our rest shows were spread farther apart. You know, it was every 7 show we would do a rest show. So now we have it like every month. So
right.
You know, it gives us more opportunity to kind of venture off from our original mission, which is to go through the scriptures contextually from Bereshit all the way through. And so, you know, I just think it works out, you know. So, I mean, we'll try to set it up. Brother Shema, that's who your POC is. And so we'll arrange something, Most High willing. But what I wanted to talk about, I heard you say something about the camps. Now, we all are aware of certain camps, and we're not trying to knock, you know, the work, but sometimes the work can also be a burden to other avenues of work. You know, so for instance, like construction. Sometimes when construction is going on, a lot of avenues, roads, they close down and you got a detour. So
right.
That's just an analogy. So we're not knocking the work, the construction work being made, because they are bringing awareness of people,
indeed,
you know, of who they are. So we can't knock that work, but what we don't want is that construction to hinder those avenues or the roads that's being closed down and people detouring off to and wind up getting lost again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
it's easy.
Right. So if you could speak a little bit to that, you know what I'm saying? You don't got to put too much into it, but just kind of speak a little bit to what you mean with the camps and, you know, where you see the error in with the camps and how or what you think the approach is from us as being those that see these errors as well. Like, what should we do? Because a lot of times we talk about the camps, but what can we do to kind of, you know, make it better for us? Because, like I said, they are doing some type of work, but I feel like they closing down a lot of other stuff around them, you know, setting up detours. So if you could speak to that, and then I got one more thing, and then I'll be done.
Yeah. And all love to the brothers out there that's actually doing the work, you know, because a lot of the brothers are speaking a message of condemnation. And, you know, I have to say this. Shouts out to Noble Drew Ali, because that's one thing that he ordered the Moors. And I want to say this for Israelites out there. He told the Moors, whether they are Islamic or whatever the case may be, he specifically told them to keep their Bibles. That's exactly what he said, because he said it was going to have to be used to condemn the government. I believe those brothers are playing a part, but I think a lot of the error is the fact that they're just not tying in law. And, you know, that's when I started seeing the power of it, because like I said, when I was in my camp, the camp we had, we were, you know, utilizing the state constitution and everything, and they weren't able to run us off the corner. We even went to an international festival. This is when all the nationalities in the area come and they got their different foods, and we out there speaking the scriptures then. Police come up to us. He said, "And you guys do this in the other city over too?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he told his his underling. He told him. He said, "Yeah, you got to leave these guys alone." He said, "They're good." I mean, he's trying to run us off the corner. And the sergeant came and said, "Yeah, you got to leave these guys alone. They're good." So I think the off part is that the brothers aren't utilizing law, constitution. They're not utilizing the scriptures fully correctly to their benefit, and it's a lot less love in the message. We need a little bit more love, and I can be probably even guilty of it myself, but I think the message can be a little too abrasive when it comes to our people. Like, as soon as one of our people show a disagreement, it's like, well, okay, well, you cut off from the congregation of the Lord, or we just automatically take their birthright from them and call them a Hamite, or whatever the case may be. So I think, the message needs to be polished up as far as how we come at our own people when it comes to the camps. And I just think, the brothers and sisters need to realize the power that they have with those scriptures and realize how much power they truly, truly have with all the knowledge that they have of the scriptures. And if they can apply that knowledge to law out here, we could be doing a lot as a nation. And we just need to get rid of the ideological issues that we have. We're all not going to agree on the same thing. That's fine. Like I said, you got different religious factions in China, but they all agree that they're Chinese. And that's something that we need to realize, is that we are all Israelites. And if there's any error that needs to be worked on, we need to come together first, and then we can work those kinks out later on down the line. But we need to start operating our theocratic government with the Most High as the head. We have officers. Moses taught us how to set up a government. We need to get back to that Torah. And those brothers are doing that, because I hear some officer, for instance, you got Officer Tazariak and things of that nature. So they're operating, not to, and I'm not saying these are brothers that have an issue, but they're operating and they're seeing that. We just need to get back more in a government fashion. Other than that, I love the brothers out there for what they're doing, but that's where I see the issue at and the weakness at with that. And we got to drop that black term. There's no such thing as black Hebrew Israelites. We have to get rid of that. That's not even a Hebrew word. That is a Germanic word that means pale. It means dead. And the Most High did not create no dead people. Simple as that. There's no black people on the table of nations in Genesis 10. I've never seen it.
All right, I got a question along the lines of this uniting. So I heard you just say, we have to get them to realize, who we are as a nation. And, I totally agree. So when it comes down to this, uniting and trying to set this thing up, this is basically the question that I've had, 4 weeks ago or whatever. Well, I think it was 4 weeks ago on the last RS show. The question that I basically had, so not talking about the difference in beliefs as far as, you believe in this part or this part of the word. What do you feel about necessarily if someone if they're of the same nationality, but they don't even recognize it? Or let's say, let me just use the Kemetic brothers. I mean, this is just for an example, because, a lot of times we have this, I don't want to call it beef, but this disagreement with the Kemetic brothers majority of the time. I mean, it is a beef, but I don't even want to call it that, but most of the time you get into it with the Kemetics, and they are people that are the same as you. They're in the same oppressive state as you. They're sitting there looking, they don't have nothing different, about them, but where they feel like they come from.
They just Israelites arguing with Israelites. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, in my thought process, that's what I think. It's just, you just an Israelite that just believe something else, but it's nothing different. So would you feel like that they need to be reached out to also for this unification, or do we say, you know what, I can only deal with someone that at least has the thought process of, this is what we need to do on a faction of the Torah, and let people either flock to it or flock away from it. I'm going to give my thought process first. I don't want to feel like I'm, mimicking or copying. In my thought process, I would feel like that you would have to at least stand for what I stand for as far as the Torah and, as far as Israel. And if you do see, you know what, I'm identifying with this, then you flock to it. I mean, that's my that's my thought process on even being a light. I'm not more so on going out and telling you what you need to be doing. This is what I'm doing. And this is where I'm standing. And if you see some progress in it and you see that this is something that's profitable, I can let you know how or what needs to be done, but I can't convince you that you Israel. I can't convince you that there's one Most High. I can't convince you of that. And I really don't feel like, this is the last thing I'm going to say, I don't feel like a lot of time should be wasted arguing with someone that doesn't even pick up the same words you pick up. And I feel like it's counterproductive to go and try to convert someone that's not even trying. Now, those in the same belief as you, and we could try to iron out those differences later with some very educational sit-downs and try to figure out what's really good with some respectable people that might have done some of the research, not some of the people that just Googled a couple scriptures and now they want to tell you how this word should be translated. But more so after we come together as a group and say, all right, cool, this is what we're doing. Now can we get on one accord? All right, let's start tackling some of these very controversial scriptures that we have, and let's try to iron some things out. So that's let me go back to my original question so you don't get lost of my statement. Basically, do you feel like that we should focus only on the ones that have the central core belief of Torah, just leave anybody else that don't really want to deal with it, let's let them do their thing and just kind of focus on ourselves? Or do you feel like, hey, we need to reach out to those brothers too because we kind of need those people in the same instance? That's the question.
You know what? I would say it is at the very least our responsibility to at least put a brother or a sister on the game. You know what I mean? I think it's at least that. And if they don't want it after that, then that's as simple as that. Hey, brother, I heard you, you say you black, man, that means pale, right? You just start off like that, asking questions. I really think it's our approach because there's a lot of good brothers and sisters that's out there that sleep, that don't got it, and I think sometimes that tap on the shoulder, but then I also know it's a seek and ye shall find thing. So you're right. We ain't got a lot of time to go out there and start trying to, knock people upside the head and get them to like, look, you've been in a sleepy state this whole time. This is what's going on. We got this for you. I think the ones that got it right now, brothers like you and me and everybody else has been listening to the call, I think we're the ones that need to get the ball rolling. That's the whole thing, because it's not, and I think that's what's stopping us. We always think we have to have a large body of people because we're thinking from almost a combative mind state, not really meaning to be combative. We got to start off small. We might have to just start off in the cities where we're at. It might have to be 5 or 6 people, you know what I mean, and start off small, start off with a study group, something like that, because we got to bring a different curriculum to the people. We've been given such a terrible, dirty curriculum since these people have had their hands on us that it is our job to kind of try to, clean it up a little bit. Now, we're not going to wrestle. I agree. Ain't no need of wrestling with them. If they don't want it, if it's really meant for them to get it, they're going to come and get it because it still falls back on seeking ye shall find. I'm sure not any one of you who's on this call, I doubt anybody force-fed you anything. This is something that you went looking for. You know what I mean? This is something that we go looking for. So I'm gonna give you this information, but if you don't want it, I'm not gonna wrestle with you, and I'm gonna keep it moving. That's it, because everybody has our free will. So yeah, I agree with you. We don't got time to wrestle with these people and argue with them. I think we need to start with that, and then once people see us, because our people are show me type thing. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Then people will start coming in. Not everybody joined the Nation of Islam when the Nation of Islam first come out. Some people were still in the church, and a lot of people came out the church later. And, I know a lot of us don't necessarily agree as far as certain doctrines, but when you look at certain brothers and sisters from the Nation of Islam, you can tell that it's cleaned them up some. You can look at them and tell. You know what I mean? There's been some cleaning up their posture, the way that they talk. And like I said, maybe their doctrine might be different, but their mannerisms, how they deal out in society, they deal as civilized people, and you can see that. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. We're going to have some people that don't want to hear it that's going to end up coming in. This is as simple as that. We're going to have some people that don't want to hear it, and they're not going to have it. So I think it's a coin toss type thing.
Okay,
but I'm done with my.
This is about to get a little deeper.
I'm done with my convincing part. I'm done on. I can say that at least. I'm done trying. I've done. I've been in this information as far as us being Israelites, like I said, since I was 17 years old. I turned 33 in April. So I'm good. I'm done arguing. I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm done.
I got another question, and this will go a little deeper along those lines, the same lines, but this will be, I have a conversation with a brother all the time, and this type of stuff. Like I talk to Jedediah, talk to Yediah, talk to Shemad. I mean, they already know where I stand, point blank, period. And that's why I said I ain't saying too much because I'm on this. You know what I mean? And we talk about it all the time, and I feel like it could happen. Yediah say no, it's not. It might not happen. We might not see it, which is cool. We got that difference in opinion.
He said, I ain't got no faith in this generation.
It's cool, though. It's cool, though. I understand where he come from, you know what I'm saying, because we see what's going on. We kind of see the mindset of people. But off of that, I'm not even going to go down that road real quick. But what I'm saying is, all right, we're going to have a certain group of people or amount of people, first off, that feels like this is somewhat of, okay, I'll just have to say a race separation. They might feel like some kind of inequality type of deal going along with it. So what do you say about the people that said, okay, because first is the nationality thing, and then we're talking about, steps. So this is, I'm talking about a couple steps down the road. So I'm talking about, first off, I'm all about separation, and I'm all about getting together. So we're going to have a couple brothers that say, okay, what about if someone of another nationality, let's say a European brother wants to come in and he wants to be a part of this thing. What are your thoughts on that type? Because you're going to have some that says, no, this is the thing that we're doing. Let us get our lives together. And you're going to have some that say, no, they need to be a part of this too. It's no separation. We all one. What is your thoughts of that? And I know that's not step one, but it will come across the board.
I don't think we have the mental or spiritual fortitude to bring in any strangers right now because we're too weak. We love all the strangers. Nothing against them. I'm not saying hate them. I'm not saying they're less than us, but we love everybody more than ourselves currently right now. It's just something that's in us. And as soon as we get somebody that's not us within our circle, we got to defend their feelings and make sure Ray didn't say something wrong in front of Kenneth Kowalski and hurt Kenneth's feelings. We really need to focus on ourselves first. And I don't mean we can't do business with these people or anything like that, but it seems like every time we bring a little bit of their influence into what we got going on, we somehow get infiltrated or we somehow become Gentiles to our own stuff. I just think right now it'd be best for us to build our own. And if they, I don't know what assistance there. I'm willing to take reasonable assistance from a stranger, but not into the point to where they're in and they know our national business and things of that nature. No, I'm not just yet. Later on down the line, if maybe we want to bring in foreigners or something like that, then yeah. Now I'll say this, and I've always said this: some brothers, right, might be with a Caucasian European woman right now. Now, check this out. This is how deep this stuff goes. But a lot of times they've been with these women or these strange women, as the scriptures call it, before they came into the knowledge, right? But the thing is, though, these women have been down with them, down. When they done went through the muckest of life, these strange women have been down for them. So what do? Do you toss them to the side? I don't think so. I think that if you was with a strange woman before you came into this knowledge, and which means she is a foreigner to us, and then you came into the knowledge, and she done been with you through thick and thin, through the most filthiest muck of life, then you keep them, most definitely. Then you keep them, because those are those virtues of loyalty you sometimes can't even find in your own people. So, yes, you keep them. They come along with the ride. I would have to say so. That's by default, yes.
And I got one more before you get off this thing, and it's going to piggyback off of what you're saying, so just like kind of throw it in there. All right, how do we decipher which, because we can't just say, oh, you brown, because we do have 12 tribes, which is 12 nationalities, which is scattered across the whole world. So, I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into, I don't want to get too deep into saying why I know the Europeans don't fit into it, at this time. That could be another rest show or whatever, because we have them more frequently. But as far as let me use Cubans, let me use Puerto Ricans. You know what I'm saying? So where do we say, all right, you know what? We understand you are of these people. How do we know that with any certainty, or do we just keep it to, you know what, the blacks in America? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Like, this thing can start getting to where, you might have someone of another nationality that you just know, he's not, quote unquote, black, but you can't say he's not Israel.
Right.
Of that thing. So where do we draw the line on that, or do we accept whatever of any minority saying, well, you know what, you possibly can be, or we have, do we say, you know what, you better do a DNA test. I don't know, who is your daddy, who's your daddy's daddy, who's your daddy's daddy, oh, you know what, he was in Africa. All right, you cool.
I know, I ain't it crazy? But you know what?
Yeah, I know.
What happens is
real crazy, but that's
the Most High gave us a karmic identity card, I would like to say, because it's the same how we always been able to recognize it. We never, for some reason, we look at the output, but what we have to understand is that our identity card, our karmic identity card, was those curses. As simple as that. That's what our identity card is. That's what the law said, how we would be identified, was by those curses. It's as simple as that. So no matter what the skin tone may be, you got people in certain land masses, you know what I mean, that have been suffering the curses. Those are those people. It's as simple as that, because what people don't realize is the bloodline thing is a spiritual thing. That's why you could say, well, all black people can dance, or all black people do this, or all black people do that, because that's something that's been coded into the spiritual DNA. Period.
I just want to say, if you can't dance and you black, you might not be black. That's what I'm just.
I ain't even just saying. I ain't even go that far. But you know what I mean? Like, we are identified by those curses. You know what I mean? And I have been noticing lately, a lot of Johnny-come-latelys have been added in certain camps, and they got to do all these little backflips to prove that they're an Israelite and all of this stuff. I don't know about that stuff there, but I do know that we got.
I don't know. I think my phone tripped.
I think we
Can
lost
everybody hear me?
I think his call dropped.
Oh, man. I think his call dropped. Because I just looked at it. I was like, dang, I thought it was me for a minute.
Yep. He dropped. So, the brother said he's willing to come back on. So, Shabbat, we could set it up for another day.
I probably could get him back on real quick. I don't know if y'all want me
to. I mean, if you could three-way him real quick, you know what I'm saying, that'd be cool, and see if you can get a call. I think in the midst, I'm going to probably give my little closing statement real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's 11:48 on my time, and it's
so right. So I just want to say, because his brother Ordick Dean, for those who don't know, everybody is listening regularly, know the voice. For those that's just listening back, this is Brother Eric Dan, and didn't have much to say because I just, listen. This is something that we have been on, and I'm glad that it was brought back up. There's a lot of stuff that was brought out, a lot of things as far as the steps that we need to start taking to start getting this thing together. These are surface level, for real. And I know it seems like a lot, but this is in the direction that we, as I can speak as us on the panel members on behalf of this, we are talking about and the direction that we're trying to go. One thing that we need, and we always say, is it time? Do we say, all right, forget it, let's just work on our family, or can we start looking towards, as a nation? If y'all follow me on Facebook or the zine, I got a couple videos. I'm talking about some of this same stuff. I did put up, we are not a nation. If you do see that, it's just meaning we're not on one accord. We're not focused on each other. So this is one thing that we have to focus on. And there's another thing that he said that I wanted to we have to start loving each other. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that we hate anybody else. It's the fact that we love each other, not to see, anything else go wrong or be done to us as a people. And we have to start focusing on us pulling each other up and getting out of that crab in the bucket mentality. I'll come up, forget the rest, because that's what we've been getting, and that's how we've been operating, and that's how they wanted us to be, because that division keeps us at a suppressed state and oppressed state. So this is just, certain steps, and like we say, it's not pride as far as we're so much, man, you know what, I can't even, you are, a chosen people. So yes, in essence, you are a better, you are better, but nobody wants to be you right now because you've been under some curses, point blank period. But we're chosen people. So that means we have to substantiate, we have to separate ourselves and do what the Most High say, and then we have to start trying to build each other as a nation and starting to do the things that the word says that needs to happen, point blank period. And I don't want to take too much time because I know the other brothers have some stuff to say, but we're going to talk about this a lot more, and it's been a very great show, and that's all I got. Shalom.
Go ahead, you did, let you go ahead.
I'm back. More peace. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna let you go ahead, you did, and then Alatz, and then I'll close out in prayer. We got 8 minutes, y'all, 7 minutes, so like a minute and a half piece could be cool.
All right, so I'm gonna get straight to the point. I just want to say this is very edifying for myself. And I'm going to make sure I share this. Everybody, if you feel like you were edified, make sure you share this, man. I'm going to make sure I make the YouTube video, post it on YouTube. I'm going to share that too. I'm looking forward to this brother coming back on the show. I'm looking forward to pressing forward and what the Most High, I feel, has positioned us to do. And so I'm ready to do the work. And the last thing is, for the brother, I would also, like to have a personal conversation on to make it more personable to some things that I would like to know for myself, because everybody's situation is not the same situation. Then also just kind of pick your mind on how you look at some certain things of the book that I've come across to see that it's kind of some issues more so with the New Testament. I'm going to keep it straight real with you. I feel like you're a real guy, a real stand-up guy that we can converse with one another without arguing. So I just want to pick your mind on some of those things. And other than that,
I need that three-way. That's all I need. I just need that three-way. I'm putting myself back on. I need that three-way, bro.
Other than that, man, shalom alaikum to everyone.
Real quick, on your closing, do your closing, and then like any information about yourself as well, and then I'll close out with prayer.
All right. I just want to say I appreciate everybody for having me on. Like I said, I know that the Most High had me doing the things I've been doing to kind of get to this position to be able to answer questions from my Israelite brothers. So I'm glad to be in a position to do that. And other than that, everything that I do online is mainly commerce. So I don't even want to make this a commerce call. If y'all look for me, if you happen to find me, it is what it is. But like I said, I just appreciate everybody having me on the show, and I look forward to coming back again.
All right, definitely, because I did have a question. So next time, we could probably have those questions answered, or that question answered, because you had spoke on the, what did you speak on? Oh, well, we was talking about race, and I wanted you to touch on that to let people know it's a difference between, race and human and all that other stuff. But
oh, yeah, indeed.
That would have been they'll get it next time, though.
Yeah.
So, everyone, we appreciate all of you calling in. We hope that these things edifying for you. Have any questions, you can email us at HisTalkOnesTalkRadio@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at His Talk Ones Talk Radio. Let us know your thoughts on today's show. You can find this brother's 5 minutes left. Okay, you can find lots on Facebook. Can they find you on Facebook? Or no?
If they know the Ivrit, they sure can.
Yeah, because your name is so. Okay, well, yeah, y'all got to probably find us, and then I can point you in that direction.
Right.
But anyway, everybody clear your minds. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to have another Shabbat, allowing us to fellowship, allowing us to not only speak the word, but allowing us to have a vision and go towards executing it. We thank you for allowing this brother to come on and edify us and help us build and get us in the motion to grow with one another. We ask that you cover those that wasn't able to make it and have them come back and listen to it and touch them. We know that your spirit moved today. It was no fighting, no nothing of those nature. We know it was you in the midst. We love you for that. We appreciate you. And we ask these things in your holy name. We pray. Amen.
Amen.
So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Tune in next week. We will get back on our contextual study in 2 Kings. I believe we'll be led by Odak Dean, if I'm not mistaken, as the host. And all of y'all have a great rest of your Shabbat.